Good morning, everybody. Happy Hump Day. Day after Tax Man either giveth or taketh away. Hope you all enjoyed your tax day. Now you don't have to pay taxes now.
No, not for a whole other year.
Not for a whole nother year. It is a Hump Day edition of Gary and Matt.
Mike.
On this show, it's always game day. Glad to have you in. It's also the start of Portal Palooza.
Aren't you so happy? Aren't you just excited? For the next 10 days, we're going to be monitoring who's in and who's out and who went where and who made money and who lost money. Isn't that just great? Aren't you just so happy that's our reality now?
College free agency. I will watch. I'm glad that it probably will not be a plethora of activity around here, which is a good thing. But like I said yesterday, I think anybody that's getting into the portal now, you're chasing a bag. Unless you are an FCS offensive lineman where they are going to make some money because people are trying to build depth. But it is Portal Palooza beginning today. Enjoy it. Some places it'll be a little bit more aggressive than others. Knoxville, Tennessee is actually a dumpster fire. If you haven't tuned in any local sports talk down there, it is just a nightmare. I'm trying to figure out, though, like with their situation.
Yeah.
And, hey, Tennessee all of a sudden is really attractive to quarterbacks because they got about, $2.5 million that they have available for a quarterback?
And two guys who haven't played a lot of football that if you're a veteran guy, you could easily come in and win that job.
You may have your eye on Tennessee. I wonder how much tampering Tennessee is doing.
Ooh.
They say, we like our room. I'd like to see the tampering that's going to go on with Tennessee. So if you like that aspect of college football, free agency starts today. A lot of people got up bright and early. They didn't sleep last night. They set multiple alarms to get up to keep hitting refresh to see where is the next Cal running back going to go to school.
I thought you were saying that people woke up early to enter the portal. You know, they set their alarms early to make sure they got in right as the window opened so they can maximize their opportunities.
I think you know by now if you're going to go into the portal or not.
Oh, yeah.
I think unless somebody is chasing you and they've offered you some money and you're like, you know what? Seattle compared to Knoxville, much better.
It's funny how this already has turned into like the NBA and the NFL where free agency isn't technically open, but guys are already signing places. Like you've had over the last 2 days, guys enter the transfer portal where the portal window hadn't even opened yet. And then Jay Donat yesterday is like, all right, he's going to Oklahoma. The transfer portal, it's not open. What do you mean he's going home? What do you mean he's in the portal? What do you mean he's going to Oklahoma? It's absolutely ridiculous.
What are there 4 Cal running backs that are in the portal?
And they all entered within like the same hour. I mean,
so they collude?
I don't know if they colluded they're all really close.
They gave each other the head nod. Hey, portaling?
Do you think they're all like just really good friends and they're like, if you're gone, I'm gone. Well, if you're gone, I'm gone. If you're gone, like I would think that one of them would be like, no, I'd like to play running back here at Cal. I'd like to be the starter now that you guys have left.
I wonder what happened with Justin Wilcox. Like I want to like Justin Wilcox, and there's Cal will tease you like last year.
Sure.
And
Cal will tease you like last year.
They just fall apart.
They should have won that. I still can't believe they didn't win the Miami game earlier in the year.
Oh, did you not get the memo for that game? There were NBA officials that were working that game. Of course, it was going to be rigged.
Miami had a couple of games like that last year. That Virginia Tech game too. That one came down to the wire. I'm glad they didn't make the playoff. I would have rolled my eyes in an absolute, because it all would have been like the U is back. Oh my God, ESPN covering all the time. I'm glad they choked that away. I am. They didn't deserve it. Cam Ward though.
They might be pretty good this year.
They're going to be,
but they don't have a lot of like the great thing about when college football was much better. You knew players.
Yeah,
like give me a couple of guys off Miami's team. That's not named Carson Beck.
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, so they're like kind of a nondescript team.
Yeah.
Where back in the day of the U, which was so good they made a 30 for 30, you could rattle off, you could probably get to 10 to 12 Miami players. That's the thing about college football, and now with free agency and guys bumping all over the place, is you used to be able to go almost every roster, and even in your own conference, and go, I'll give you 10 guys.
Sure.
And now you're like, I think he's still there. I'm not sure. I did not hit refresh on the browser back in December. He may not be there.
Well, also, too, like it's easier for players to build brands if they're with a team for a while and they build like a legacy or build like a reputation within one team and within one fan base. So if they do leave, they're like, oh yeah, he's great. He was awesome. He was a great leader. Like you're going to really like this guy. You get to know that guy. Now, if you got a guy going from the Big 10 to the ACC to the Big 12, you don't play them every year. You don't get to know them every year. You don't get to actually get their name.
Don't you think you follow? Like AJ Storr. AJ Storr is probably going to have some people that follow him to Ole Miss.
Sure.
His 8th school in 8 years.
But I think
Carson Beck. I don't know that I buy that, because I'll use a guy like Carson Beck. Isn't Carson Beck's brand much bigger at Miami, and he hasn't taken a snap?
But he won 2 national titles. He played at Georgia. I mean, Stetson Bennett won 2 national titles. But Carson Beck played over at Georgia, had a reputation. You knew who he was. He was on national TV. He was in one of the best teams in the country. I'm talking more so about guys that aren't necessarily superstars, that are more so like all Big Ten, honorable mentions, or all Big Ten third teams, or guys that were like they were with the team for a while, and you're known within that conference because you played that guy over and over again. Gotcha. I'm not necessarily talking about the superstar. Oh, you're gonna know who the superstars are for sure. You're gonna build brands through that way. But I'm talking about the more mid to like upper tier guys.
So it makes sense for them in your world to go somewhere else to help their brand.
I think in my world, I think it makes sense.
James Williams' brand is bigger at Florida State than it was at Nebraska. God, that just turned into an absolute dumpster fire. All of a sudden now, I saw a thread yesterday where Ndamukong Suh is being mentioned.
Sure.
How did and he's not catching a stray. It's like, you didn't have Ndamukong Suh and we did. I'm like, whoa, this is shut your face. That you would even have Ndamukong Suh and James Williams in the same sentence. I
still don't really understand. Like, the guy went to his new team, said that his new team has really good athletes, says no disrespect to his old team, but our team's going to be really good, and we like what we have here. And yet people are freaking out about it as if he's a terrible human.
You said you love the X. You love
I do
Twitter.
Love the X, Twitter, but this is a little ridiculous.
Twitter is a place to go. If you're looking to be upset at something, Twitter is the place to go, because you'll find something to be upset about.
Oh, 1,000,000%. And that's why
I can say that.
And that's why I enjoy it. But there is a certain point where it's like, you're like, oh my God, Terrence Knighton is such a terrible mentor to James Williams because he's not reprimanding James Williams.
Welcome to the offseason.
Yeah. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous.
We could have saved this until after spring ball, but I'm glad that later, it drops with a couple of weeks to go in spring ball. I mean, this should carry us for what? Mid-June?
This should carry us for the whole year, because no. Listen,
this is such a nothing burger.
You know that if
I got more worries in life than what James Williams said.
Though, if Florida State's defense is bad this year, or isn't playing well this year, or Nebraska's defense is playing great this year, there are going to be Husker fans who are really peppering James Williams and peppering the Florida State Twitter.
Who cares?
I just care how the Huskers are doing.
Hey,
there's a beef created.
Celebrate your own. We spend too much time worrying about other people. Celebrate your own. Take care of your own house. Celebrate your own.
I agree. Couldn't agree more.
All right. Coming up on the show, John Walker will stop by. Baseball John Walker, as he covered the Nebraska Creighton game last night downtown. He'll join us at 9, maybe with a thought or two on Alan Huss. That's happened since John was with us, even though I tried to lead him down that path last Wednesday. And he was like, Sharpie, don't do it. Don't do it. I can't say anything. Brandon Vogel will stop by at 9:40. I was driving in this morning, and I was scanning the radio dial. I don't listen to what is on before us. Is it still 2 pros and a Joe? Or
2 pros and a cup of Joe.
Okay. See, I don't.
I didn't even know that. Not in here.
I usually don't listen to what's on before us. I used to listen to when Clay Travis was on before us, and Clay Travis has a huge fan base. I would listen to him because he'd talk a lot of college football. So I'm scanning the dial, and I got my favorite FM stations, and our guys and gals over at Sweet 98, they had not started yet. So I was on another station, and they made me sit in the car a little bit longer, which is like the whole key to radio. They always tell you, like in Radio 101, did Billy D tell you, hey, this is the thing. If you can keep them in the car, just an extra segment, and they miss like a 9 o'clock meeting, you've done your job. They never tell you that?
No, I never got taught that.
Okay. That's
why they do teasers.
We got to fix that school of journalism down there in Lincoln. But
I got taught how to block on camera.
How's that working for you?
Have you seen the YouTube? Pretty bad. I got the worst angles at everybody on the zone. I'm in on the camera. I'm out on the camera. It hasn't translated.
Let's talk about
Go ahead.
So I'm listening, and for all of us that work this kind of shift, and I think more and more people are working in the mornings.
Yeah, I don't like where all these cars on the road at that time. I enjoy my peaceful drive-in.
Speak for yourself.
I think Omaha is starting to become a real city where we've got to commute in the morning, early in the morning. People are working in the morning. Mm-hmm. So I'm listening to these two morning show hosts talk, and they start talking about their sleep schedule. And so anybody that is all on our same sleep schedule, I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
I put a lot of like thought into sleeping and trying to manipulate the clock of your body with a bed and either like a sleep gummy, melatonin, sleep mask, all of that kind of stuff, like sound in the background.
Wow.
Because I probably sleep like 4 hours. So stayed up last night and watched the whole Cubs game. By the way, the most popular Nico plays in Chicago was the Cubs handed the Padres their first home loss. First time that the Padres had ever had a bat this year in the bottom of the ninth inning at Petco. It was wonderful. Some of the game was not wonderful, but somehow the Cubs won that game last night. So, I probably get 4.5 hours of sleep. And I know that that's wrong, and I don't need...
many coaches are like, yeah, us too.
I don't need the people that stayed at Holiday Inn that are pretending to be a doctor to get a hold of me right now, okay? It's working for me. It's gonna catch up to me, okay?
I'm a successful man. Do not tell me how much more I have to sleep.
But don't you get your grandpa nap later? That was what you told me when I started.
So I'm getting there. People say, man, I got 8 hours of sleep last night. I'm like, I haven't slept 8 hours straight in a long time. So unless I gum it up and then that really works for me.
Not to totally interrupt you here, but last weekend, I stayed in just so I could get more than 6 hours.
You're not supposed to. So when you're on this schedule,
you're 23. You're supposed to have fun.
You're not supposed to adjust on the weekends and sleep in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm supposed to stay
like
regular
not
matter
not get
what?
Up like at 4:15 or whatever, but don't sleep until 10.
Oh, okay.
Like if you get up like at 6 or 7.
Okay.
So I'm listening to these two, and they're funny. They're having a little banter. They actually are not in the same city, which is still wild to me.
Interesting.
But they're doing their morning show for a long time. So they start talking about, have you heard about the coffee nap?
The coffee nap?
The coffee nap.
No, I haven't.
I like coffee. I like naps.
Hey,
talk to me.
Scientists or the guy that makes the bonsai trees on 72nd and Dodge will tell you that the best time to power nap is between 1 and 3.
Okay.
Like 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Spicoli does like 2 something. So there's something to that.
I'm gonna go talk to him. It was not his morning show, so I don't know if I want to bring this discussion up. So
hey, Spicoli, I was listening to one of your competitors.
They weren't on yet.
They weren't
so
on
it's
yet.
Not
okay, fair enough.
So this guy said, yes, I've heard about this thing called the caffeine coffee nap. So you're only supposed to sleep for 20 minutes, which I violated that many times.
Sure.
He said, this is what you do. Right before you lay down, you drink a cup of coffee. So the caffeine takes about 20 minutes to get going. So you're going to sleep. And then when you wake up, you have a caffeine high.
What if you can't fall asleep?
Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but this guy had me captivated of, I am going to try this. He said, the caffeine takes about 20 minutes to kick in. You drink it right before you take your nap, and you can only have about 20 minutes of your nap. He said, I don't know, all of a sudden he became a sleep expert.
Sure.
Like he has slept on the purple
like he was
last night.
like he was a mattress firm guy, yeah.
And then he said, yes. He goes, you wake up and you're, and I'm like, So I don't know if anybody else has tried that out there or you guys have heard about this, but it's called either the coffee nap or the caffeine nap. And he has me convinced
I do that
I
sans
should
the
try
caffeine.
This.
So are you the type of guy that you just can close your eyes and 2 minutes later you're done? You're out.
I envy those
gone?
people. Like a cat.
Because I can't. I don't think this would work.
It depends on what part of the house and what I am, who and what I am sleeping on.
Okay. Fair enough.
Just answering your question. I'm being honest.
So, okay.
One is kind of a cool top. The other one's warm.
I'm being transparent. We want transparency. That's in the portal. You want transparency. I just gave you some transparency.
Painting a mental picture. It's like play-by-play.
I don't have to worry about who or what I'm sleeping on. I sleep on the same surface by myself. But I can't. Okay. Like it takes me, I would say on average, it takes me about 12 minutes to fully just knock out. So I'm only getting in this instance.
Damn, what is wrong with me?
Like an 8-minute nap in which I wake. I don't think this would work. Now, the Navy SEALs and the Army, they do something. No, they do something similar where you take a 15 to 20-minute nap. And what you have to do is you have to elevate your feet over your heart. So you elevate your legs, and that way, like, I think it's like something to do with the blood. The blood rushes down and it reaches the parts that, give you energy or whatever. You take 15-minute nap, you wake up, you have a ton of energy. So I will tell you this right now. That does work.
I've heard that before.
Like that has worked for me multiple times. Like, especially if I've been going in between places or I'm about to call a game like in an hour or something like that, I take one of those naps. Like, the problem is, though, you're in a real good sleep, so it's almost like you got to snap out of it a bit, and then you get your energy.
No, that's tough.
So you're playing a tough game.
If I'm doing a game, I'm downing a Red Bull.
That sounds like a TikTok myth.
It was not on TikTok. It was actually on the radio.
I know, but it sounds like they got it off of TikTok.
Radio is different from TikTok.
Okay, but it sounds like they got it off.
TikTok will not take over radio.
We work for AM
the podcasters might, but TikTok won't take over radio.
It sounds like they got that off of TikTok.
I think you should try it and then get back to us.
I think you should try it. Why am I the guinea pig?
Because I don't have time.
What do you mean you don't have time?
I don't have time.
You just talked about how you take a grandfather nap and you only sleep 4 hours a day. You have more
busy
hours
yesterday.
You have more hours in the day than I do.
I got baseball. I got a lot of baseball, a lot of golf, a lot of baseball. So you try it and get back to us.
Wait, don't slip in the golf there. I mean, the golf is that's your time, man. You're deciding to golf. Nobody's going like, "Hey, Gare, you want $50 to golf today?"
Is he shaming you for trying to stay healthy?
This isn't like a professional
getting 12,000 steps.
You have to do.
Yes.
You choose to do that.
Yes. Yes, you're right, Jimmy. It helps with my 13,000 daily steps.
There you go.
Yes. All right. You have the lineup, and do you have your return to Nebraska baseball? Has Nebraska baseball brought you back in? Last night, downtown at the Daytime Day Trader, Nebraska beat Creighton 6-3. Had lost 5 in a row to Creighton. Creighton had owned that series. They'd won 12 of 14. It was a blue state. I'm sure there were drafts in the old Twitter machine, in the social media campaign for both sides. They were just waiting to hit send at the end of the game. But somehow, some way, Nebraska won last night. 6-3, stellar outing for the bullpen. When they needed a base hit, they got a base hit last night. Still can't run the bases, but that's beside the point. They won the game, and all of a sudden, they have won 2 in a row, and they have Northwestern this weekend, and you're like,
I know that laugh. I know that chuckle. I know.
So, are you back in on Nebraska baseball after last night? It's like Nebraska basketball, man. You can't quit them. Somehow they keep teasing you, and you're like, that's what it's supposed to look like. It was a good performance last night for Nebraska to win 6-3 and hold off Creighton late.
I was really impressed with early on in the game. They were having kind of the same runner on base issue, leaving a lot of guys stranded. I think through the first 5 innings, they left 10 guys on base. 6 of them were in scoring position. And I think you were kind of thinking, all right, here we go again, and Creighton hits the no doubt homer, takes a 3-2 lead. And you're like, all right, this is kind of what this series has been over the last couple of years, where it's really competitive and Creighton gets a bit of an edge, and then they kind of take that into the later innings and they build on it and they end up winning. Really impressed in the 6th, 7th, and 8th inning, not only from the bullpen, but the bats as well, to get the lead and keep it. And I'll say this right now, Robbie Boland's double, that insurance run to make it 6-3 in the 8th inning, absolutely massive. I kind of had a feeling when it was 5-3 and there was 1 out, you were like, all right, here we go again. Like, you felt like Creighton was going to have a big 9th inning, and this is kind of how this series has played out. Robbie Boland comes in and says, no, we'll get an insurance run. You felt a lot better, and they closed it out.
Yeah, they won a game that they have lost a lot this year.
Yes.
And that was important for Nebraska. And in the scheme of things, I don't think they're an at-large team. They're going to have to come back to Omaha in May and make a run, but they got to get to Omaha first. But they won a game. Most importantly, they won a game. They beat Creighton. We don't have to hear Bishop and Happer just subtly drop things when they come into the studio.
No.
Yesterday was a GBR. I thought it was also very light on the social media for Nebraska. They were very kind. They were like just moving on. No like backhanded.
Sure.
We're on to Northwestern.
Which is very unlike the that social media account. In general, the social media accounts in general, I'll have to have some speaks of, do you want more pettiness? Because I can order that.
No.
I can get that done for you.
Well, I think
Do you want? I feel like it sounds like you want more backhand.
But I think it comes from the top. I think the general said no, just final. Move on. Nice win. We're on to Northwestern. We'll do that. Last night, part of the little thing downtown. Beautiful night for baseball, by the way.
Yeah.
Going to be a great day for baseball, too. Kids' Day out at Warner Park. I'm looking forward to having 6,600 kids there.
Do not wear another person's hat.
Why? Why do you say that?
I mean, you can put on a kid's hat and you take your chances. It's hair roulette. You don't want head lice.
Why
are you be careful.
Yeah.
Why are you so caught up on lice?
I'm telling you, they can get you.
I feel like every time
is there a lice outbreak in Omaha? Because this is the second time in 2 weeks you've referenced
That's
lice.
true. Well, you got to be careful.
Why are you obsessed with sickness? I feel like a lot of times
because I was down with the sickness.
Better than the OP.
You know me.
If that's what you choose, that's okay.
Hey,
nothing wrong with that. Okay, so why are we? Because
you just gotta be careful. You be careful.
Okay.
You know, I remember this happened to me when I was a little kid.
Is today a beautiful day to die?
No, it's
Jesus.
What? Whoa.
Well, this is
what are we talking about?
Whoa. Referring back. We're referring back.
This escalated quickly.
Weeks.
Nebraska and Creighton play a good college baseball game last night. There's baseball under the lights of Mother Nature on a warm weather day at Warner Park today, and you're talking about, is this a good day to die?
Well, I'm just referring
I wasn't
back
going
to what
there.
Jimmy had been talking
I was just going to say, be careful and
weeks.
enjoy the game.
I'm just saying, we're always referring back to people being sick and diseases and making sure and having your head on a swivel with Jimmy Chavez over there in the ones.
Always have your head on a swivel. Always.
I don't know. Nebraska finally beat Creighton. People can go to bed happy.
Except they didn't, and then they take a caffeine nap later.
There you go.
Back to the lice thing.
Yes. Dangerous. Yes. Everyone wear your own stuff. Jackets. We won't need a jacket today.
Have you made an announcement on the show yet about your big news?
No.
Do you want to?
No.
Okay. All right. So no one heard what I just asked Jimmy. Okay, because I didn't know if that was coming from your future.
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right.
That's actually coming from my past.
I think lice is a fraud. I've never gotten it.
Oh, boy.
Never known anybody who.
Oh my God.
Who's had it. I'm just saying personally. Now, my mom, I've said this to my mother.
I'm out of this conversation.
I might be too. I'm listening.
Hey.
I'm listening to what Matt has to say, and then I'll make a decision.
I'm going to go to Twitter and spend the next 5 minutes looking at no context humans. You two discuss what you just said, that lice is a fraud.
I did not say that.
I want every parent in Omaha at Matt McMedia to tweet at you that you just said lice is a fraud. Okay.
I'm joking.
Okay.
I'm joking.
Do you apparently soar the lice?
My mother's a kindergarten teacher.
Okay.
She would have to do the lice checks.
I need some background here.
Sure.
Do you have a poster up in your barren apartment?
It's not barren.
Of the guy that looks like he lives underneath the hot dog roller when you look at his skin, that now has a big say on health in this country.
Are you referring to RFK?
Not just a stadium.
Not going to say.
Okay.
I just tried to describe a guy that I observed from afar.
I do not have the director of health in this country. I do not have a poster of him in my room. Okay. I just made a joke because everybody
so 12:05 first
about
pitch?
Lice and how we have to be concerned about lice.
11.
I've never gotten it. I've never known anybody to have it, but my mother is a kindergarten teacher who had to do all those lice checks, and she has horror stories of literally seeing the bugs.
Then it's not a fraud. It's real.
No, it's not. I made a joke.
You can't joke about lice.
Yeah.
There's other things you can joke about, but I don't think you can joke about lice.
Yeah.
I'm going to need a pamphlet of what I can and cannot joke about.
I mean, if you can't say lice is a fraud. Like, you could have said it's a scam so that people that are in the lice, industry.
What is the difference between a scam and a fraud? Aren't scammers fraudsters? Isn't that the same thing?
The people that make that, what is RIT, or what is the shampoo that,
Well, that is a thing. I mean, the shampoo, like if you get lice, you do need to buy the shampoo to wash it out. Fraud.
Head lice is really bad.
It is.
Okay, yeah. I'm not in this conversation.
Neither am I. You called it a scam. I called it a fraud.
I didn't call it a scam. You could have said scam better. You called lice a fraud.
It's on Fraud Watch. That and Sam Darnold.
So
They're
do you
both-
treat lice and COVID the same way? Where you're like, you know what, kids that have lice and COVID, you shouldn't be kept out of the classroom. I'm just trying
It'll
to check
toughen
you,
them up.
because you might be on the conspiracy wagon on this Wednesday.
I mean,
I'm listening.
When COVID was running rampant.
No. Hey,
You thought I was asleep. I can't believe you thought I was asleep.
Hold on. Let me secure my seat because this ought to be good. This ought to be fantastic.
When COVID was running rampant, 2020, 2021, even before, we had all the vaccines and whatnot.
Holy
yes,
cow.
it was
The Middle
important
Ages?
to get tested and to stay out of things and to no longer be involved in stuff. And if you think you have COVID, you still should get a test and you should still, stay out of work. But at the same time, we don't need to be freaking out about it as much as we used to.
11:05, huh? Might have to go to that.
They play the Tides. Hell of a comeback yesterday for the Storm Chasers. They were down 8-3.
I haven't been to a game yet. I need to get out there.
Beautiful. The weather hasn't cooperated. So
It'll be
hopefully
nice day
it'll be a
today.
good
Noah
day. You got a
Cameron on the
bunch
mound today?
I don't know.
If he is, I'll go.
I'm just day to day, and now I'm just. Hey, how about that COVID?
I didn't. Hey,
People forget it.
Hey man, I'm on COVID. I'm making sure that I don't get you COVID.
How
I'm
about
being very
that
cautious.
Easter in 2020? Man, wasn't that just a treat? How was your ham?
How about those Lakers in
How was
2020?
How was your viral
Man, those Lakers
ham?
were good in 2020. Got Rajon Rondo and
Dodgers.
Dwight Howard.
That was a
JaVale
year of LA.
McGee, Contavious Caldwell-Pope. It was a good team.
It was a bubble win.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Win
we're
in
not
a real
getting into
season.
It was the Dodgers won in a bubble,
No,
but then
very different.
They won
turned
last year,
around. Yeah,
redeemed
so they made up
themselves,
for it.
Very
It was a
different.
bubble win.
Very different.
Things are different on the bubble.
LA Lakers. That bubble championship, I think, was harder than most championships.
I don't know.
Because of all the COVID. It was everywhere. If I'm following here.
Couldn't see your family. It was tough, man.
You got phones?
You couldn't get
Yeah,
lemon
FaceTime?
pepper wings if you wanted to. You couldn't enjoy
Yes, you
the
could.
things
Yeah,
that
you got them
wanted
shipped
to.
in.
Well, no, I mean Lou Williams got suspended for getting his lemon pepper wings. Can't go to Magic City, man.
Which
tough.
well,
Everybody knows the more you go to Magic City, the more likely you are to win an NBA title.
Omaha's a great wing town. Just trying to help here.
How about Nebraska baseball?
They won.
They won. Yes, they did. All right, we'll come back. There are other things about what happened last night downtown. Nebraska beating Creighton. That series is tied to the game of peace. A couple of weeks from now, they'll have the rubber match. Didn't know if you had a conspiracy on rubbers.
I don't.
All right, we're off and running. It's Gary and Matt with Jimmy on a Wednesday on 1620 The Zone. All right, reset here on a Wednesday. Fraud and conspiracy man over there.
I'm not a conspiracy man. I made a couple
so
jokes.
I'm going to give you an example. Do you think this was a conspiracy?
Okay.
Last night, kind of some. What do the kids call it? Aja?
Aju? What do we?
No, Aja.
I have no idea what
I
we're
got bet.
talking
I think
about.
I got real.
I have zero clue.
I think I'm right.
Are you talking about the beef juice that you,
No.
you dip your Italian beef in?
No.
Ooh, that is
I think
good.
this is what his kids say. He's got some Aja.
I've never heard that.
No, yeah,
Aja.
Aura?
No,
Aura?
not aura. No, that's just over. We've now killed that word.
He's got some
in that
chutzpah.
description.
He's got some chutzpah.
Okay, so last night, and this is I'm trying to frame this into your conspiracy world. Lice is fraud. That is. Wait till you go to a school to read to the kids.
And they all
I think
want
I signed up for that.
See
I think I actually did sign up to read to some kids.
And then they did a background check, and they were like, "Hey,
1620 to the zone. Reads to kids.
Maybe do it remotely." So last night, Will McLean of Creighton hits a home run to make it 3-2. Hit it deep into the bleachers in right field.
Yeah, where no one was there to catch it.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
0 people.
We'll get there. Well, they don't let anybody sit in the outfield.
Okay.
So that's why it's completely
That's
empty.
my bad.
But almost simultaneously, Alan Roden, who is in his rookie season with the Toronto Blue Jays, last night up north in the 51st state.
Yes, I was watching this.
So ridiculous. He hit the home run, his first home run, off of Spencer Schwellenbach.
Oh.
So it was a former Creighton player hitting a home run off a former Nebraska player. Well, it almost happened at the same time in downtown Omaha.
That's crazy.
Now, is that a conspiracy?
I think just something was in the air
Okay.
tonight.
That's another category.
Allah.
No.
I just threw that out there. It's good to help myself.
You also threw out there that lice is a fraud. And now
you are taking what I said
Hey.
incredibly sarcastic and jokingly as if it's an official health statement.
I should rename the show.
I hope it is not an official health statement because I got Mrs. Nelson at Beverage with a WTF. I don't even know Mrs. Nelson, but I'm sure she's a fantastic teacher. Okay, so last night, we did our predictions on what the crowd would be like. The weather was great.
Yeah.
The weather was really, really nice. I put it. Remember that, Jimmy? You remember what you
I'm going to guess I was under.
You took like
65-32 was
I looked like 62-17.
And you
65-32.
65, and I went 59-82.
Okay, you were the closest.
We all went over.
5,846 were announced last night for that game.
No, yeah, it wasn't in the box score. I was trying to look for it in the box score.
Usually they do that when they don't want you to know.
It was not in the box score. So 5,800 was what it didn't look like that much on TV. And to be frank, they really weren't showing too many crowd shots or anything.
Looked
like
the
that
Marlins game that I had on also. There weren't a lot of people there last night.
No.
Any night.
So 5,846 was the announced crowd. If you did not go and you did not listen to the game on the radio here on the Zone or on the Nebraska broadcast, was the FS1 broadcast really quiet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
It was quiet, and it was not like a lot of excitement.
There wasn't. At times,
Rob's a big baseball guy, and I think Rob does a really good job.
He was a little sleepwalky.
Play-by-play guy was like, I mean, it's kind of it's Nebraska Creighton. Well, it was an exciting game last night. I mean, it
was competitive.
There were a lot. Nebraska left 15 on base.
Yeah,
Creighton couldn't get a hit when they had. Like Nebraska got a hit when they needed a hit last night. Creighton could not. That was the difference in that game. And then the bullpen was fantastic.
Yes,
I mean they were unbelievable. And then they have found their closer in Mr. Broderick. But like the broadcast was super quiet.
I didn't think at times
it had nothing to do with the lack of fans.
Humans.
It was just quiet.
I think they needed to turn up the crowd, Mike, because if I'm being honest with you, with what the what the broadcast was and what they were showing and like the pictures you saw, and then like you said, it being quiet, I thought there was like 4,000 fans. Seriously. It felt like there wasn't a lot of people there. The fact that we were even close to the 6,000 number just based off of watching the broadcast alone,
they love
honestly,
this team here
is
in
kind
Omaha.
of surprising to me because I was thinking during the game, I was like, I think I'm probably going to be right. Seriously. There was a thought that went through my head that this is probably going to be under 6,000. But it just, I don't know. And there was a lot of like, there were some pieces of like negativity of like they were bringing up like, oh, this is a disappointing season so far for Nebraska, and they hadn't lived up to the expectations. But I feel like kind of, oh no, it is. I'm not saying those are false statements, but I do think at times it kind of waned down the energy of the broadcast for sure. That they're like, oh, this is a team that we thought would be better, and they're not playing that well. I don't know. It didn't seem like the stakes were there yesterday.
Zach is not all bought in on Nebraska winning 2 in a row and beating Creighton for the first time in 6 games last night. He says even a blind squirrel gets a nut every once in a while.
How many times
has that ever been? Was that a conspiracy?
What, has a blind squirrel found a nut? Yeah. I feel like blind squirrels.
Do you think that they
find more than one nut?
Is blindness a problem with squirrels these days?
Don't you have
now
better
in Matt's
senses?
world? This is how this would be approached. I think the squirrel is pretending to be Stevie Wonder so that he finds a nut and we go, whoa.
So are we going to relate to that as Nebraska is purposely playing bad baseball, so when they do beat really good teams, we go, whoa. We get more excited about it.
Oregon State beat UCLA last night. What am I saying here? Zach also follows up with yesterday they beat a Creighton team that also sucks. It doesn't matter.
They're 20-12.
Their Creighton team's okay.
Yeah, they're not great.
Get back to me. Good. I got a big weekend downtown against St. John's. Oh, Zach's out on everything.
Ooh,
I wonder if we'll see him at the Husker games next week.
Does that surprise you at all, based on the emails that we get from Zach, that he's out on everything outside of women's athletics? Very in on women's athletics, Zach is.
I mean, well, UNL is a women's athletics school.
They're doing great in women's athletics, yes.
Here is, oh boy, old man Doug. Good morning.
Good morning. I've got two questions. First one is for young Matt.
Hey, Doug.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to hear
from you.
You
regret wearing that Yankees hat yesterday?
2 days ago.
This is great.
Yes, I regret wearing it 2 days ago. I'm wearing a Patagonia hat today.
It is a nice hat.
That'd be like me wearing an Iowa hat or something.
I don't think that's comparable, Doug. The Cubs aren't rivals with the Yankees, but I do understand people getting very upset with me wearing the evil empire on my head.
Okay. All right. Gary, Nico.
Which one? Hey, hold on. You got to clarify.
Yeah.
Tennessee quarterback, Dallas Mavericks GM, or infielder for the Chicago Cubs who hit a triple in the top of the 10th last night.
Good point.
The Tennessee quarterback.
Dang.
You don't put any blame on the kid, and when you're getting paid $2.5 million, this isn't your dad putting you on a different little league baseball team or something. I mean, this is he's damaged goods now. I mean, yeah, his handlers, so to speak, are at fault as well. But at some point, this guy's a quarterback of a major college team. They went to the playoffs. He's an adult. He's getting paid, what, $2 million, $2.5 million? And, yeah, he went and asked for a raise. But really, and you're kind of seeing it right now, is, who's going to hire the person? But probably somebody will. Mm-hmm. But I'm just telling you that this is he killed himself long term, I think. There's not going to be people that want to hire him. And again, now you're in college football, college basketball, you're getting hired. You're not getting recruited to a school anymore for the most part, particularly at the level that he was at. And I don't know.
There's consequences. There's consequences for asking for a raise and not getting a raise. And sometimes life hits you a little bit sooner than you expect.
But when I listen to you,
I don't have a problem with it.
Would you agree part of it's his fault? Because you put no fault on him.
I say neither side is at fault. They did what they want to do. Tennessee made a statement. They stood up and they said, no, we're not going to be held hostage. And you know what? He went and asked for a raise. And I don't know the kid, but the kid is made to be out a villain. And I think his dad has a lot of blame in all of this because there are more and more stories that are coming out about dad. And we don't know how much dad influences the kid. But let's talk about the family. They made a calculated risk, and now they are suffering the consequences. And we'll see where he ends up. I still think he'll end up somewhere. He'll get paid, not as much as he got paid at Tennessee. And his ultimate goal is the NFL.
Like I said, I put a lot of it on the kid. He's an adult now. He can do whatever he wants. And Dad's probably living off of him anyway. I would just think he's just tired of that. Well, I mean, I don't know what his dad does. I mean, maybe his dad's a big executive or something. Who knows?
I don't want to speculate about their family situation. I don't know what their relationship is like, but Dad has a major influence, and whatever son and dad are together, that's on them. So they went and asked for a raise. Tennessee said no. Now they have to deal with that. It's big boy. It's big boy life. That's what college athletics has become.
I'm glad Tennessee did it. You guys know how I feel about loyalty and gratitude, and
we do.
I don't think
stop watching
the kids show anything to the coaches. So,
Doug, thanks for the call. Here's the thing, though, you have to worry about old Nico.
Yeah,
is there is kind of so. He will find a spot.
Yeah.
There will be somebody out there because people are waiting for the price to go down. Which, I mean, if you need a quarterback or you need
just
some
like
depth,
tickets.
And there are some people,
you know what?
People do.
It's like, you know what? You go to a Rangers game the other night and you see that there's a $350 ticket that's available and you wait. And so you stay outside of the ballpark and 15 minutes before first pitch on SeatGeek, that $350 ticket drops down to about $25 and you're like, bam. Okay.
That's good economics.
You still get to see the game.
Yeah.
You save money.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You just enjoyed the pregame from the outside.
But what is happening is kind of interesting. And, you know, we've had moments in union disputes of collusion.
Sure.
It does seem like college coaches are taking a stand because he's a little bit being blackballed because here's all of the PR leaks of who is in and who is out.
Sure.
And Tulane all of a sudden can't move forward with pursuing him. I don't think they expected that much of a pushback when they made this move, but they are being blackballed because when the PR leaks come out.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, okay, now I hear there's low money that's being offered. You're in a rough situation. I don't know what Dad's plan B is. But they had a bad day yesterday.
It's funny to me.
But they might have a good day today because that's how the world of needs in college football works.
It's funny though. I really don't think this was a Tennessee made a call to other teams and were like, "Hey, don't touch them," or "Hey, I don't think their head coach is being like, "Hey, I'll lose your respect." I really do think it's kind of like an unconscious.
Well, look at Dan Lanning.
Unwritten.
Dan Lanning tipped off Tennessee.
I think it's kind of like an unconscious, unwritten rule of like, hey, we're not really going to give into this guy. We're not going to allow ourselves to give him and give into what his needs are because we don't want this to happen to our players. And it sets a bad precedent.
You think this would be looked at differently if he would have done it right after the playoff? In the winter window?
It would have been right after the playoff, like right after he was done.
Mm-hmm.
I think this has nothing to do with him entering the portal and everything to do with him holding out. I think if he just entered the portal, it was because he just went to his meetings and he went to spring ball and said, hey, you're not giving me enough.
I think holdout's the wrong terminology.
Well,
I think Tennessee said no. And what were they going to do? Either take our offer or a holdout you're trying to get a better deal.
But
I think Tennessee's like, no.
But the optics of him not going to the spring game, not going to team meetings, just kind of getting up and leaving, the optics of him looking like him just leaving the team definitely did not sit right with a lot of teams and a lot of people. And we know that because of the interest.
See, an agent would do this. An agent would have already some leverage to walk in and ask for more money for their client. And then if the business decides to say no, you already have a backup plan and you're like, okay, we're going to Nebraska.
Yeah.
Or we're going to Iowa State.
And it would have been done like that.
That's what an agent would have done.
Sure.
Dad is just like, all right, I got the 6 shooters on the hips. Let's go, Heupel. And he says, get the hell out of my office.
Nico Nation, let's ride. That's what he said.
And when he finds his landing spot, and it could be in Southern California, it could be in West Texas, the fan base will celebrate it because they'll be like, oh, we got a guy that was on the playoff. Who cares if he tried to hold Tennessee hostage? You know what? We got our guy.
And they'll say, oh, my God, we got him at a discount.
Instant gratification. Try it sometime. All right, one of the books. Hour number 2 to come. A little bit later, John Walker stops by. He is always an instant bucket. And Brandon Vogel, instant knowledge. That's in the last hour of Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. like I love you. All right, welcome back.
And I get shamed?
No, I'm a better singer than you.
And I get...
Better singer than you. Yeah. It's true.
Just the double standards throughout here are ridiculous. You know, I have a couple of takes, and all of a sudden I'm a health risk to people. You were telling people, I say that
lice is a fraud.
I said jokingly, lice is a fraud.
After we called you on it.
No, I said it laughing. I was laughing into the microphone when I said it.
People said COVID. How am I supposed to differentiate?
You were telling people to drink more yesterday.
It's true.
You were telling people to put more alcohol into their bodies, and yet you are a hero celebrated.
It did help my social life once upon a time.
Because young people need to go out. You know what? Young people need to get off their phones and take like the masters.
Says the guy who has TikTok talking to the young guy who doesn't have TikTok. What's your screen time? I guarantee you your screen time is more than my screen time.
Probably, but when that notification comes at 9 a.m. on Sunday mornings, I don't really look at it.
I swipe left.
Yes.
I open up all notifications. I'm a 7-hour-a-day guy. I'm 7.5 to 8 hours.
That's probably norm, right?
I think.
Damn,
I think I'm a little
I got
bit
2
over.
hours and 50-something.
I would
minutes,
assume the average for people my age is closer to like 6. Like I think I'm a little bit above the norm, more than likely.
I would think more.
You would think more?
Yeah, you guys live on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I am. Because I'm like 8 hours, but then also too, you gotta like my computer time as well. Like I'm on my computer, for 2 to 3 hours as well. I think my total screen time in a day,
6 to 10 every weekday.
All right, so it's, you're an Apple guy, right?
I'm an Apple guy.
Okay, so Sunday when you get your little notifications, usually about 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Make sure you take a screenshot, and we'll discuss it on Monday.
Okay.
Done. Now, who I would really like to see, but he is not an Apple guy, and I've tried forever to make him an Apple guy. I would love to see Damon's screen time.
Oh. I wouldn't know.
I forgot he wasn't an Apple guy.
Not an Apple guy. He's an Android guy.
Yeah. I remember this argument.
He's got green text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's on his phone a lot. On his phone all the time. But if you'd like to be on your phone, great. Goes against everything I'm saying about, be like the masters. Go out, communicate with people in person. You know what? Last night you're at the Nebraska Creighton game.
Yeah.
Instead of holding your phone up so you can see Silva get hit for the 3rd time in the game, you know what? Why not just put the phone down and embrace it so you can hear Silva getting hit?
So you can hear the bones cracking off his shoulder.
And probably watching on TV you did not. Mike
No, the microphones weren't on.
Mike tweets at Gary Sharp 1620. The broadcast last night felt like they were calling the game from the library. It was so quiet, no talking.
I never understand.
DeVern on 13.
So you and I, and you in particularly, like you're an astute observer of broadcasts, right? And you have, we talk a lot about, hey, certain broadcasts were this way, it looked this way, whatever. I feel like that's a very fixable problem. Like if the broadcast is a little too quiet, can they not pretty rapidly, turn up the microphones or adjust the levels?
So it may be the announcers were really quiet.
And they couldn't adjust, but they couldn't tell them, hey, talk a little bit louder?
That would seem appropriate, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
Like they don't want to be heard by the dugouts?
I'm not throwing it at you or throwing it at anybody. I'm throwing it at them.
It was just really, really quiet.
You would just think that out of all the problems you could solve, like if you just have a crappy camera or a crappy camera angle, or it's like, hey, this ballpark isn't conducive really to like broadcasting. Like it's not a great baseball park to broadcast in. I get that. But the volume on your announcers or the volume on your crowd mic, or just like having an actual like, hey, here's the atmosphere of the game. I feel like that is a pretty easy problem to solve out of all the problems you could have. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Buckeye Ross emails into the Equitable Bank inbox.
Bet he watched the spring game the other day.
He was on again. I was scrolling through Big Ten.
It's the world famous Ohio State Buckeyes.
Like they got nothing else to broadcast.
Prepare yourself. You're about to get a lot of the Ohio State. He just said that DeColdis Crawford is back in the portal.
Again? Where is he? He went from LSU to Nebraska to Grambling.
So he committed to LSU, and then he followed Mickey to Nebraska. Then he got hurt, which set him back at Nebraska. But he got paid. Remember, he did the NIL commercial.
Wasn't he before Nash?
Yes.
Before Nash got that company, he was DeColdis.
He crawled so
he never played at LSU, never played at Nebraska.
Did he even get on campus to LSU?
No.
Yeah.
And then he went back to Louisiana. He was at Louisiana Tech.
Yes.
By the way, 2 years ago, his only 2 passes that he caught that season were against Nebraska.
How it goes.
I like that. Good to know.
And then he ended up at Grambling. I don't see, Mickey is his guy.
That'd be very
So
strange.
yeah, why would he leave him?
I mean, he's literally followed him to 3 schools at this point, right?
Well,
I mean, he came to Nebraska. He literally came to Nebraska.
it is
Mickey came.
Palooza as of right now.
There were
are
a
no
couple pretty good guys who entered the portal.
familiar names. Well, there is one that if you wanted to play in the world of fantasy college football, Josh McCray at Illinois would be a guy to keep an eye on. So Illinois does have a loaded backfield, and he was the MVP of their bowl game when they beat South Carolina. But he has played a lot of football there. He has about 1,400 career yards. Their running back last year, he played all 1,300 games.
Most positive he was there. He was like the second back when Chase Brown was there. They were like a 1-2 punch for that team. I think that was Tommy DeVito was the quarterback then.
But they have a pretty deep running back room, and he's a little bit of an older guy that's got 1 year to play. So he is in the portal. If you are looking at it from like a Nebraska lens, and again, I think Nebraska will kind of sit out the portal. But if something falls into their laps, I mean, you don't even think twice.
No.
But let's play this game because if you're looking at the running back position, he is someone that just came from a program where if he was going to play, he would not be the main guy and he'd have to split carries. So take it into the Nebraska part, and I think the Nebraska coaching staff believes, not just lip service, they believe that Emmett Johnson can make the next step and can be an elite running back. And Emmett Johnson would probably clean up the running back room if Emmett Johnson was on the field a lot.
Sure.
So you don't have to make the decision of, okay, what do we do with Ives? What do we do with the next guy?
Yeah.
But if you were to go down this road, he already knows he'd have to split carries, not Emmett, but would you have to run something by Emmett?
No.
Okay.
No.
I mean, just a question that I asked because I don't think Nebraska will be in the pursue game of this.
I don't think you have to, because this is the college football world we live in. You kind of go down the line of teams that were in the college football playoff last year. The reality is that the best teams had 2 backs, and they were, Ohio State, Georgia, Penn State. I mean, not so much Notre Dame, but these top teams, they have multiple options in the backfield. And as long as you make your promises to Emmett, it's like, hey, you're still our number 1 guy. You're still going to be involved in the pass game. We just need a goal line back, which McCray, if we're just talking about McCray specifically, like a guy like McCray, 6'1", 240 pounds, had 10 touchdowns last year. He's the perfect type of guy to take over that short yardage role. But I think just because of where we're at in college football, you can still make assurances to Emmett Johnson. Hey, you're gonna get yours, man. We just need to make sure that we have someone waiting in the wings in case you get hurt, because this is a position that you get hurt at a lot.
They would have to ask the question of somebody that you would add to the roster this time of the year. Because I in the winter, you're looking for a spot in playing time.
Yeah.
I think in the spring, you're looking for a bag.
Now,
unless you're an FCS offensive lineman, and there are a lot of them out there, and FBS teams are looking for depth. Either a kid is looking for a bag in the spring, or teams are just looking for depth. So pursuing a running back, you'd have to go, okay, he's better than, let's say Ives right now is number 2. But remember, there's a gap between 1 and 2 in Nebraska's running back room. He would definitely be
in 2 and 3.
In a 2, but is he better than your current 2? You kind of made a commitment to Ives, because it would probably change. This is all out there, because I don't think this is going to happen.
This is more of a Quinton. Honestly, if they were to bring in a second running back, I think you're having more of a conversation with Quinton Ives than you are with Emmett Johnson. I think Emmett knows that he's the number 1 guy, and he's a weapon on this offense regardless. I think this is more of a Quinton, because from Quinn's perspective, hey, man, I've been waiting in the wings. I've been practicing. I've been here a couple of years. I've waited my turn. You've only given me 1 carry in a bowl game. You don't really know what I can do in game outside of what you've seen in practice. This is, I've been waiting. I've deserved this opportunity. So I think you have more of a conversation with that.
Ooh, would never say the word to a coach, I deserve this opportunity.
Sure. Sure, that's a good point.
I
But
mean, the reality is you have a head football coach who, if you're in the trust tree, you're okay. But man, he strikes me as a guy that, Coach, I deserve this. I've hung around. They're like, hit the bricks, pal.
look, this is a hypothetical here, and if you don't want to get down this road, because it can be a very ugly road, we don't have to.
Conspiracies and hypotheticals.
If you bring in a
That'd be
guy,
a great talk show name or a podcast name.
probably is a podcast name already. If you bring in a guy, is there a leg for any RB1 to stand on and say, in the spring particularly, after spring ball, if you bring in another running back, any RB1, is it a leg for them to stand on and say, hey, you got to give me more money. You got to up my NIL a little bit if you're bringing in another guy.
Are you using Nebraska as an example?
I'm just using, this is just more so of a blanketed hypothetical, because I think Nebraska is you can get a little bit different. Is there a leg for running backs to stand on and say, hey, if you're going to bring in a second dude, you got to pay me a little bit more? Or do you think coaches now are going to be more so, no, we're not going to do
It'd be a depth piece.
Yeah.
He's not the guy that's going to challenge you. Yes, the Coldest Crawford is in the portal. Wow. He wouldn't have gotten hurt.
Where do you go from Grambling?
Well, he's still at Louisiana Tech.
I thought he went to Grambling.
He's going from Louisiana Tech. Grambling would make sense. I don't know. He's had an interesting career. He's got a great name, though. I mean, at least he's got that to fall back on.
His parents did him right.
And he's a legend in the state of Louisiana.
See, like three-time All-America name team on that college football Twitter site. They always do all name team. Has he made that team since his freshman year? Is he 4-timer? That's incredible. It's a Hall of Fame college football name.
You know, there's another thing about the Portal Palooza starting today, and again, I keep bringing this up because there are quite a few FCS linemen. Like South Dakota has been ravaged.
Sure.
And they're a team that is definitely a playoff caliber team, but they have been ravaged. I wonder if I would love to be in the back channels of the portal world. I think I'd be a good tamperer. I think I could be the guy that they would say, hey, for every prospect you bring us, we're going to give you a finder's fee.
Are you saying that you want to be the worldwide Wes of college football transfer portal?
See if there might be interest.
What I would do? I would have a database. So all of the prospects that we had conversations with in the winter,
sure.
Once we open up in the spring, I would be, hey, remember, DeColdis, you told me that you wanted to stick it out and you wanted to see what spring was like because you felt like you had a chance to be one of the top 3 wide receivers. Are you sure? Because, we had that good conversation in the winter portal and you weren't super confident. I'm just asking you because I'm looking out for you, young man. I want you to have the best. I want you to get your degree. I want you to be able to ball out. I want you to be able to go and achieve your dreams of playing for the Steel Valley Renegades in the Arena Football League. But are you sure? Are you sure?
You have the sleazy lawyer hand gestures already.
Hey, I think that is a great line to use. And Nebraska's rule has kind of opened up the door a little bit on how he does the whole portal. But there's a two-way trust at Nebraska where you have to trust what Rule is telling you. If he's transparent, he's not just yanking your chain. And you have to gain his trust that he's not going to run you off or he has the trust of you that you're not going to screw him. If he's going to commit to you, you're going to commit to him.
Yeah.
But I think that's a powerful line to ask a young man or young woman that is maybe thinking, are you sure? Are you sure that you want to stay? And are you sure you want to make this decision to leave what you have right now? But if I was the sleazy tamper portal guy, I'd be like, DeColdis, hey, remember in the winter? Because I got it right here on my notes. We were talking on December 29th. Remember you were telling me what you got for Christmas? We were talking at 9:15, and you were saying, man, I got X, Y, and Z are in front of me, but I feel like in the spring I'm going to be able to. Now, remember, he hasn't in the portal, so I'm tampering.
Yeah.
Are you sure? Are you sure the things you told me, DeColdis, back in late December, are they holding true? Have you made your way up the depth chart?
Well, that's great.
Are you sure you're comfortable there? Because you kind of opened the door for us to say, hey, are you sure?
I think you bring up...
Coach, I'm not.
Like,
hey, you know what? Go to your compliance officer, put your name in the portal, and then we can slide out of the DMs and we can have real conversations.
I think you bring up, and I know you're kind of doing it jokingly, But you kind of bring up an interesting aspect. We talk a lot about agents, right? Agents representing as many possible players, right? And whether or not they're sleazy. You kind of bring up the opposite of that. You representing kind of the teams. You being like programs and saying, hey, DeColdest, I'm not your agent, but I have great connections with North Carolina. And I know, I've talked to Coach Belichick. He's seen your tape. He really likes you.
I like where you're going here.
We can connect you.
What if it's Jordan Hudson that's calling?
Sure.
By the way, happy birthday, Bill Belichick. You guys know how old Bill Belichick is today?
He's now 49 years older than his girlfriend.
He is 73. Do you know who
73 years young.
Damn it, they're never going to hit 50. Didn't even think that. That'd be great if they were 50 years apart.
Age is only a number. It's how you act.
Go to Bonefish this evening. You can see for yourself.
She's mature for her age. She's always, like LeVar Ball said, LaMelo Ball.
Yesterday, didn't he just
I'm making fun of you.
Didn't he
I'm saying it in my
Greyhound?
I'm talking about my I just said in my sarcastic voice. This is how you talk. She's mature for her age. She's mature. She's always, when she was playing soccer growing up, she was older, always with the kids who were 3 years older.
Precocious.
So she's grown up a little bit quicker. She's liked mature people more.
Old
she's
soul.
She's 24 in age, but she's really 32 in mind. That's the BS excuses they bring up. She's the COO for a company that doesn't exist. That came out yesterday.
Yeah.
Does it pay well?
Hey, I'm fired up.
I can't wait for the 30
I got eyeballs all over North Carolina football.
Like we already thought that the final chapter, the Bill Belichick 30 for 30 documentary was written.
It was bad.
We already thought the final chapter was done. It's being written right now. This is a great.
Wait, we're killing Bill Belichick?
Well, when the documentary comes out.
A lot of people today. You said earlier in the show, are you ready to die today?
No, I thought I was the dark cloud of this
just
show. Now I'm starting to feel like I'm.
Are you guys changing roles?
That is just an absolute lie.
You asked Jimmy, is he ready to die today?
No, that is not.
I think you're rubbing off on me. I'm becoming a more positive, lively person.
Because if you're a loyal listener to the show, you know that we had a great segment where Jimmy out of nowhere just goes, yeah, it's a beautiful day to die. And so I asked Jimmy, I didn't go, are you ready to die today? I asked Jimmy, hey, Jimmy, is it a beautiful day to die?
That sounds like we were naming Bond movies because that sounds like the name of a Bond movie. They're all some variation of that.
I think DeChambeau lost because he was watching a Pierce Brosnan Bond movie.
Happy birthday to Bill Belichick, turns 73 today. Yeah. Also, happy birthday, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar turns 78. Yes. These updates are brought to you by
AARP.
Who is it?
Is Kareem dating a 30-year-old?
Brett McMurphy, who wishes coaches happy birthday. Check his Twitter today. But I think when you get to the portal, you can be the Slimers. And again, right now, FBS teams are looking for depth. Kids at this time of the year got a bag secured. They're being tampered with in the spring. But teams are just looking for depth pieces. There's, if you're out there and you're a game changer, you're getting a bag. But most guys are depth.
Yeah,
but the strategy, the strategy can't be all over the place. Like I'll give Nebraska, as they've we all learn how to work through this world. And it's kind of like basketball around here.
Mm-hmm.
Creighton, Omaha, and Nebraska, and reconfiguring their rosters in the offseason, all appear to have a strategy. I don't think Nebraska last year had a strategy. It was really, really slow. This year, they have a strategy.
Sure.
Nebraska football, if you look at the portal entries and what they're doing in spring, Nebraska aced the strategy. Did they get everybody they wanted? Did they fan on some tackles because their suitcase?
They did.
Suitcase full of laundered bills was not big enough.
Isaiah World.
Their McDonald's sack did not have enough, condiments in it. But they had more of a strategy. I read a lot of the on three and they're like speculating who's going to be active. I'm like, some of these schools don't even have a strategy. They're like, you know what, we got this money. Let's just go buy something.
No, you're 1,000,000% correct. And I think of kind of teams like LSU and Texas Tech immediately who just had an incredible bag and they were grabbing guys. If you're ranked top 10 in the portal, they were calling you regardless of what your position played. But more so on the strategy. It's not just this year Nebraska football had a strategy for the portal. I feel like every year Matt Rule has been here, there's been a certain strategy that they are entering, right? The first year, they went in and they grabbed a bunch of high school guys. Hey, we're going to grab as many high school guys as possible, and we're going to build this from the bottom up, and we're going to use a lot of the pieces from last year's
team. Portal.
No. Then the next year, they added some more portal guys. It was more mercenary stuff. It was a lower number. Hey, we're going to bring in dudes that we think can help us right away. And then they brought in like one or two dudes who were hey, we can try and develop you, right? We can have a multi-year portal guy. This year, they went more all in on the portal. And I think it's what I think has been impressive is the year-to-year portal strategy has changed and shifted, not only with college football, but also with the team's needs. And I think this year's strategy of going in and getting, they weren't light. They went 16 guys in the portal. They went to the portal looking to upgrade their team, not to necessarily just add depth, to just get better on the floor, to raise the floor right away. But then they also did add, some younger guys too that you hope could develop as well. And so they've kind of mixed those strategies together from their last couple of years. And I think you're absolutely right. They went into the portal this season, I think seasons previous, with a vision, and they've been able to accomplish that.
Well, their first year they had to hurry up and get some.
Yes.
So Tyler Kanak is still here. Jacob Hood,
gone.
Gilbert, MJ Sherman got 2 years out of him. Billy Kemp, Ben Scott, you got 2 years of starting. Elijah Judy is going to play on the defensive line. Josh Fleeks, remember?
Yeah.
Your favorite memories of the Josh Fleeks era?
He had that 74-yard run against Michigan.
Chief Borders.
He played a little.
Great on TikTok.
Awesome TikToker.
Jeff Sims, which ruined that class. Corey Collier, and then Marco Ortiz might have been the most valuable portal pickup that year.
But the next year, it was only 6 guys, right? I think in the portal, like they didn't really, they liked what they had and they weren't too aggressive.
This was the first year, the first offseason where I think they figured it out to have a strategy of how to balance a roster. See, I still would love to live in the 75-25 world of 75% of your roster is high school kids, 25% is portal.
Sure.
I think they were trying to figure out what is the best balance. But I keep going back. Unless you're a Dane Key type guy, Rule loves the multi-year transfers. Mm-hmm. It's like Omaha basketball, for example, Chris Crutchfield. He has such a strong connection to the junior college that he wants guys he likes to recruit guys after their freshman year in junior college, so they have 3 years available.
Yeah.
Instead of after their second year where they only have 2. Now, having 2 is good, but it's Rule, I think, knows that year number 2 it'll pop. Unless you're a special talent where you're going to walk in the door and Dane Key's going to be your wide receiver 1.
Or Rocco Spindler is going to be your starting guard.
Yeah, where some guys you don't turn down. You're like, what, you only have a couple of days to play with us? Come on in.
Yeah.
All right, a little bit later, John Walker, Brandon Vogel stops by. We'll keep refreshing on Portal Palooza. See if anything comes of college football anarchy, where we have a breaking point and people lose it today.
I hope it's not.
I'll be sad. I want a name. Just give me a name.
The coldest is officially in. So there's your name. There's a name. Literally a name. The coldest.
I want a name that has played some college football.
Bo Atkinson.
Yeah. When we come back, we'll discuss some things that were discussed in Lincoln yesterday by John Butler. Funny guy. You probably didn't think he was funny. He's funny now. And Husker Twitter, you made him funny. We'll do that when we come back. It's Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. All right, something that is not funny is when there are storms in the area and your roof takes a beating. Okay, that's not funny at all because you go, oh, geez, what am I going to do? I got water coming through. My siding, my gutters have taken a huge hit. You know what is the smart thing to do? Contact Omaha's trusted roofer, Moose Roofing. It is their passion. Pat Moose, former walk-on at Nebraska, tight end, Pierce, Nebraska, former Blue Jay, takes great pride with his entire team of they're going to take care of you. It is his passion. Just, you ever get a chance to talk to Pat? Talk about roofing, and he will walk you through everything. I am smarter today than I've ever been when it comes to talking to Pat Moose about roofing. They are a long-standing company. They've been in Omaha for over 90 years. They specialize in both residential and commercial roofing, and what they do is they take care of you. They get to know you. They get to know your needs. They get on your roof. They give you what's going to happen. And then while you're working with your insurance company, you're thinking, oh, geez, this isn't going to work out. They're going to say no. They have an entire department that will walk you through the ever-increasingly difficult process. That's what they do. They're an Omaha roofing company that is focused on you. For more information on what they can do for you, or just look at the 15,000-plus roofs that they've worked on from Southwest Iowa to Lincoln, contact them today online at mooseroofing.com. This is very subdued.
He wanted a name.
I think I'm going to do something, and because of Matt's theme of death today, this is
how did I become the negative, like Nancy death guy?
That's
on the show?
You. I don't know. I can't explain it.
I don't know how the narrative flipped. I mean, I feel like Nico here. I feel like my name's being dragged through the mud just because I say and do some things that I think are best for me.
Would you like a little news then? No, Nico. Would you like a little news?
Which Nico?
Nico, I'm leaving Tennessee.
Oh,
he's in the portal this morning with a no contact tag. Hello, UCLA, Nico. I'm leaving Knoxville to go to Hollywood.
So is he under?
Kind of trading up.
He's probably under what he was making at Tennessee, right?
Who knows?
I mean, if he ends up being under what he was making at Tennessee, this has to be one of the worst negotiations in sports history. You got up, you left an SEC team with one of the biggest brands in all of football that just made the college football playoff to go to a UCLA team who is in the Big Ten, which already is weird, who is not that good. You're making less money and you damaged your draft stock while doing it.
Did he damage his draft stock?
Yes. This will live with him all the way through the draft process. Every time he goes to those combine meetings and he talks to teams that are interested in drafting him, they are going to ask about the situation and whether or not he regrets it.
So
and whether or not
he can help them
he
win.
would, if he could go back, would he change it? And what would he do differently? This is going to be something that he's going to
so
be
even if he
answering
balls out at UCLA, if that's where he's going, he's in the portal with a no contact tag. You think so?
I think so.
I don't know about that because remember these guys that held out of bowl games? It was supposed to crush their stock, and they were going to have to explain why.
But I think this is
if you can play, you can play unless you have major criminal activity that is a red flag.
This is one of those things though where there were a lot of top prospects who were holding out of bowl games, who weren't playing at bowl games. If you were an NFL team and you weren't interested in stars that didn't play in your bowl games, you were going to run out of options to draft in the first round because unless those guys were playing in the playoffs, they weren't playing in those bowl games. So I don't think that's as similar to this situation. I think this situation with the whole, he had a deal, he tried negotiating out of the deal, then he left the team in a very unceremonious and bad-looking manner, and then he ended up, going somewhere else. Now, look.
Did he leave the team or did Tennessee said hit the road?
Regardless, whether Tennessee or not said hit the road or Nico, he got kicked off a team or he left the team. Regardless of what happened, that still doesn't look good. If you get kicked off your team, that's a red flag. If you just straight up leave your team, that is an even bigger red flag. And so, okay, yes, if Nico ends up winning the Heisman and is absolutely incredible at UCLA and he puts on and he looks absolutely insane, sure, there will be teams who will overlook it and defend themselves and say, hey, it was a mistake, whatever. He's an incredible player. He's our franchise quarterback. That's what we're going to move on with. But unless he reaches that bar, which is a very high bar to reach, there are going to be a lot of teams in the NFL who are going to be thinking, hey, do I really want to invest a first-round draft pick in this type of guy?
I don't think he was a first-round draft pick, even with what he was doing at Tennessee.
He was projected to be on some 2026 NFL big boards that I looked at. He was projected to be in the top 10.
Of overall picks?
Of overall picks.
I don't know what those people are watching.
NFLDraftBuzz.com. Now, it has to do with the fact that he is a quarterback and that because of his position and the fact that that definitely raises his stock. Once again, there are people who don't think Shedeur Sanders has a round 1 grade, yet he's going to go in the first round because of his position.
Yeah, that's why. If you can play, you can play as long as you do not have any allegations of burning down your house and leaving people inside of it or anything like that. If you can play, and they'll figure out a way because now we're in the pros. Okay, so you actually got indoctrinated into what it is like in the pros before you ever got to come to our organization.
I don't think so. I disagree with that.
You know what they're going to say? They're going to say, hey, it's unfortunate, Nico. This happens all the time. Hey, Cam Ward at Miami did the same thing, but it just didn't become public. Yours became public.
Well, then
this happens all the time. These negotiations happen. This just happened to become
public. But Cam
public.
Ward didn't get kicked off of Washington's team, and Cam Ward didn't leave Washington's team a day before the spring game and not attend meetings. That there is a difference in that. It happens all the time. Yes, you're right. Most of these quarterbacks that are going to get drafted from here on out are going to be who transferred.
Let me give you a scenario here.
Sure.
Because I understand the NFL. If you can play, you can play.
I'm not pushing back on that.
So he's going to have an opportunity.
No, I'm not saying he's not going to have an opportunity, but this does damage his draft stock in a way, I think, with how bad the optics look and how he left his team, regardless of whether he left it or he got kicked off. When teams are deciding, hey, is Nico the second best quarterback or the third best quarterback, or is he the third best quarterback, the fourth best quarterback? This situation and how he handled it is going to reflect negatively on him and put the questions into teams' minds of whether or not they want to invest in this guy. And also, too, you're not only investing in Nico at this point, you're investing in his father. Because,
no.
Well, you are. If his father's still his agent and he's still in the picture.
When you get to the NFL, well, that will not happen in the NFL. They will have to have an agent, a real licensed agent. Licensed agent.
Oh, sure.
Unless he's representing himself, which would be insane. But once you get to the NFL, hey, if your parent is a problem, that's not going to happen. Well, we're talking pro sports here.
Well, I mean, Caleb Williams is a guy that had to battle through all of that now, but at the same time, what did we talk about? If you can play, you play. If you can play, you can play. He can play, so they moved through that. But Nico isn't a guy right now that is oh my God, for sure, number one overall pick. He is a guy that has to have a good season to even get drafted. And so if he has that good season and he is, middling to be a first round pick or a second round pick, a situation like this is going to affect how teams look at him. He's got to play at a really, really high level to overcome this situation.
I don't know. I think the NFL, I think you're looking at it through a college football lens. The NFL looks at guys different. If you can play, you can play. And we'll find a way to work through all this unless you have some baggage and things in the closet that we just can't overcome. Look at the amount of guys that have not similar situations that find a home in the NFL.
Okay. You're right. Cam Ward transferred from Washington to Miami. Shedeur Sanders transferred from...
Yeah, I don't think that's an issue with the NFL.
Not the transferring.
If they interview a prospect and he's been at the same school for 4 years, they might be like, why?
Really?
You're supposed to join the fun. You're supposed to bounce around.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. You're being facetious, but I'm being serious in the fact that red flags exist in the NFL. They do, and I think that there are certain teams, and this isn't a blanket statement, but there are people who are very turned off by how this went down, because there are plenty of quarterbacks who have transfer teams and who have gone in the portal to make more money and who have renegotiated their contracts, but they have not ended the way or have not gone the way that this has gone. And so people look at Nico and go, why did that happen to you? Why did this become such a negative thing? Where a lot of these guys that we're looking at and we're drafting, it didn't become that negative thing. Is that a bad reflection on you, or is this just a bad situation?
Kyle tweets at Gary Sharp 1620. By the time the season is here, no one will remember how Nico got to his new school.
I think it'll be something that we always, because it's one of those very, it really hasn't happened like this before. It hasn't really been publicized like this. Yes, it's happened, but it hasn't been publicized like this. I still think this is a really big story that he will be related to this for a while.
In the portal with a no contact.
Does that mean
how soon? Well, okay,
he's got his buyers, or does that mean he's got his team?
He's got his the whole no contact. Do kids, when they're being recruited out of high school, if we still recruit high school kids, do they have a no contact tag?
I don't think they do. I think they just stop responding to text, right?
That's seriously.
I don't understand the no contact tag. I don't know why you would do that to yourself either. Why would you put a no contact tag on yourself?
It may be a game of just language of, then it's speculated like you have your team. And so the school that is interested in you, that doesn't know it's you,
sure,
they start. It's all leverage.
Yeah,
life is leverage, young man.
I'm learning.
Yes. All right, quick break. We'll come back. We will get into some things that John Butler said yesterday, and the little subtle fact. Probably will not find this in the Phil Steele magazine. Does Nebraska have, with their offensive and defensive coordinators, the two best sets of hair in all of college football? We'll discuss next on Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, every day is game day on Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. Hello to everybody on the stream. Just remember, dumb loses more games than smart wins. But I got a smart thing for you.
What a hot take.
It's not a hot take. It's just a statement.
Okay.
I mean, you're a hot take guy.
I am a hot take guy.
Yeah. You are very much a hot take guy.
I think I'm a take guy, and then they can be hot.
You're a take 5 guy.
Take 5. Listen to Take 5. We've been doing some really good work. Had John Butler's press conference reaction yesterday. Every Friday, we're doing weekend bets, by the way, on Take 5. So if you want some picks for the weekend, tune on in, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Take 5 with Matt McMaster. Nice whole promo. Hey, we need to promote it, man. We need some more numbers. We need to amp it up a little bit.
I'm all for it.
I know. I did.
Yeah,
We're good.
Good job.
We're good. This non-paid promo is done now. Continue on.
All right. Okay. Maybe I was in the wilderness.
Maybe you were.
That's very true. I did not know that Husker Twitter had some fun with John Butler's hairstyle.
Neither did I.
Last year there were some female listeners that we're wondering about the man bun that John Butler was sporting, and I don't know much about man buns. I'm neither pro or against, because when you don't have the ability to have a man bun, you really can't have an opinion. But you know what? It looks like everybody that has a man bun is very successul at life, and I'm all for it.
I was able to do a mini one at one point. It was very nice.
You were very successful. So he made a joke yesterday, and I think John Butler is very dry. He's an extremely smart person.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rule talks football with bullet points. Butler talks football with War and Peace. Okay, they're just different, and somehow
that is a great way.
Somehow they are on the same page.
It flows when he talks. It flows so well.
But John Butler is he is very dry, and sometimes people that are very dry can be the funniest people. So you got the Holgerson hair and you got the Butler hair.
Yes.
But did I miss something that people were having fun with the skullet? That he wore a hat yesterday, and then he felt like he had to make a joke. Was the room kind of uncomfortable at the beginning? They were like,
well, yes, it was. It was a little bit.
Where did that come from?
The first John Butler presser. I'll tell you something right now. I was there. I saw the skullet. I don't want to speak on behalf of the room. I was taken aback by a little bit. Like, there wasn't no hair in the front, but there wasn't enough hair in the front. And so you were like, wow, this is a choice. Like, you're kind of a tweener right now. Like, he definitely could shave it and look good. He definitely
like
could keep it and be fine.
Hair.
When he came in, a lot of people, like, it was like SNL. Like, you needed the cue card to be like, laugh, because he's such a serious guy and he's very locked in. And I think that sometimes when you're thinking of questions to ask him, you have to be very like mindful of like, okay, what answer could I get? How can he approach it? When he leads in with and by the way, he didn't say it in a very joking manner. Like, he was a little serious with the, I have the skullet. Like, a lot of people didn't know.
I didn't know that Husker Twitter got on him.
I don't think they got on him. I think they just made jokes.
So he shows up with the hat, and there are very few football coaches that don't wear a hat. Callahan didn't wear a hat. T.O. for a while didn't wear a hat, but every head coach since then has been a hat guy.
He needs to be a different hat. He needs to get a different hat. It was a little too tight on him. It was like kind of bulging a bit.
Jesus.
I'm just saying.
You are feeding into Husker Twitter.
I'm just saying.
John Butler may have a rough fall because that tight hat. You can get a headache from the hat.
I did not
what
say
happens
that.
What happens if John Butler has to go over to the trainer during a defensive stand to get some Excedrin, and he comes back and he's missed a play call, and all of a sudden the devotion to being good third down defense, USC completes a 3rd down and 17, and Lincoln Riley is in his bag.
Because the hat was too tight? I think when you just have such a big brain like John Butler and you're such a genius.
That's the Matt McMaster hot take right there.
That is not, you said it. That you can't relate
could
that
get it
to
sponsored
me.
by like a
Now,
heating
Maybe he
thing.
wears a tight hat to keep his brain in his head because it's so big and he's such a genius. It's the third word that comes out of everybody's mouth about the guy. He's a genius, and he's very smart. He's a very smart dude. You can tell when he talks.
I think I'm not going to throw around genius. There's certain people that are on the Mount Rushmore of geniuses.
Einstein,
Edison,
Tyson,
Franklin, Tyson,
Neil
Mike?
deGrasse, Neil deGrasse, not Iron Mike.
What about Bill Nye?
Chicken?
Would you put Bill Nye?
Absolutely not. He's a character scientist. He's a scientist, but he's like a TV scientist. There are a lot.
He taught us every other day in
Bill
science
Nye.
class.
Now, I'll tell you something right now.
Bill
Nye
that TV.
has affected society more so than many scientists who claim that they are smarter than him. Bill Nye has had a major effect on society, and I love Bill Nye and I respect him. But if we're talking about like greatest minds ever, I don't think Bill Nye is necessarily up there.
I think Bill Nye has shaped a lot of people's opinion.
I totally
Maybe
agree.
they become science.
He is
Bill Nye could
he's
get
had
you
a
a bucket
massive
late in the
impact
game.
on society, but we're just talking pure
Excellent
intelligence.
3-and-D guy.
He has taken science to make science cool.
Exactly. No.
Yeah. He set science rules.
We're not
He actually is a comedian.
If we're talking about the Mount Rushmore of like science,
Ace and Gary?
maybe you can have an argument. But if we're just talking about the Mount Rushmore of intelligence, I wouldn't put Bill Nye all the way up there on the Mount Rushmore.
Okay, so genius is not a word I'm going to use with the defensive coordinator at Nebraska.
Fair enough.
Because I think genius, you have to be on a whole different level.
You got to be in a think tank at MIT.
Your brain has to be being preserved somewhere so that they can use it down the road.
You got to be Walt Disney.
But here's the thing about John Butler and is Nebraska defensively, and I keep going back to this, they don't have any great players. They have a plethora of good players that can become great. And they would like somebody to emerge that could be great. But they like the amount of depth and good players that they have. They don't have a star. They have, I don't want to say it'd be negative to say supporting actors. They have people that are in between. They have people that are in between. They like who they have on their defense side of the football, but they want somebody to break through to be the Ty Robinson level. Hey, you're going to be a third-round draft pick next week. But the one thing that this defense will be better, and it may actually, I think there's some high-level thinkers that are on all three levels of the defense that are players, is they will be a smarter football team on that side of the ball. There's a lot more teaching going on. Mm-hmm. You've seen it. You've heard them talk about the teaching that has gone on during the spring. And you still got some new faces there on the defense side of the ball. Last year, when they were in crunch time, I think one thing that got Tony White in trouble and got him in button heads with John Butler is there were times where Nebraska was just, hey, we got to go make a play.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily a play call. It was a play call, but then it was added with, you just got to go make a play. And I think guys on defense thought, okay, that's kind of what this defense has turned into. Instead of, we're going to scheme them so that we can stop them on third down, it's just, hey, because you are a college football player, go make a play. I think Nebraska this year will be a smarter team where it'll look more schematic instead of more individual. And so there won't be as many busts like you saw last year, that when there was a bust, it seemed like it went for an extra 30 or it was somebody was hitting their head on the goalpost.
Well, two of the things that he emphasized yesterday kind of hit those points on the head, right? He talked about we want 11 guys playing as one, right? And that just comes down to communication, proper scheme, understanding where you are. He even went in depth about, the motions and the reactions and that like consistent communication, and how when he talked about the defensive back room, he said, hey, you need to be physical and you need to be able to tackle and you need to be able to do this. But first and foremost, we just need smart dudes on the field.
And then
period.
And a prime example is the Ohio State game.
Yes.
Gifford got confused and gave a wrong play call, and Ohio State picked him apart.
Yeah.
Okay. And that happened a couple of times in that game. So I think, if you listen closely, these guys have told you everything that they thought ailed last year's team.
Well,
the use of
totally agree.
The use of communication and playing 11 as one let you know everything. I don't think it's a slight at Tony White, because John Butler was part of that defense last year, but they've diagnosed what ailed him last year, and they're not afraid to subtly drop it into a conversation about what they're doing this spring, what they're working on specifically.
But I think another thing too is that when you talk about the supporting actors, and I know that's not what you want to call them, but the good players that they have, there definitely is the attitude there of like, we're happy we have this depth, and we are going to make sure we use as many of these guys as possible, and we're going to use a lot of different personnel, and we're going to put a lot of these guys in unique situations. And I think that bodes well, not only for the players individually, but also for the different looks that you're giving to the offensive team, right? And when you add that, aren't you kind of combining those two, having the correct scheme, but also telling guys to make a play, right? You're marrying those two ideas.
No, you don't want guys being individual, though.
No.
That happened to them a lot last year.
Okay? But
they didn't win a lot of 50-50 balls. Okay, because guys were trying to make individual plays instead of playing the right way.
But when you talk about making those personnel groups and having those different personnel groups, it comes back to, hey, we're going to put these guys in the right situation.
That's
they
the
can't
schematic part of it. Yep.
Yes, exactly.
All right, 2 to go. Halftime of the week on 1620 The Zone. All right, coming up in an hour, John Walker will join us. Cover the Nebraska-Creighton baseball game last night. Nebraska beat Creighton 6-3. Rob Childress, you're off the hot seat. Bullpen looked good again. Now, if you can get some starters on the weekend to go into the 6th, then we're cooking with some peanut oil again. But he has found his closer in Mr. Broderick.
I'll believe when I see
throwing gas.
I'll believe when I see it for a full series.
7 hits, 10 Ks last night.
It was good. But we've seen the song and dance before. We've seen this team.
They're gonna draw
put together.
You back in.
Yeah, which is why I'm not falling
Here you
for
go.
it.
Here
This
comes
isn't
the
why I'm
run
falling
to
for it.
Omaha. Get to Omaha. The Big Ten is on their knees. They're trying to figure out the umpires that can rig the rest of the Big Ten season to make sure that Omaha has Nebraska. Because if they don't, hear them crickets, except for the bumblebees that will come over and support Iowa.
I am not making any I am not buying into this team fully as okay, they've finally done it, they've turned it around, this is them. I'm not. You are not going to get me banging on the bandwagon being like, oh my God, they're going to do it, here it is, this is the moment, the bullpen looked great last night, they can parlay that into more success. Because you know what, I thought that after they beat Vanderbilt, I thought that after they beat Oregon State, I thought that after they beat Kansas. Now they look good against Iowa, they played a good series against Iowa, they only won one game. But
they're like a box of chocolates. And you know what? The chocolates that you got last night, they're from C's Candies right here in Omaha. They came into Omaha and they stole the box of chocolates last night and went back to Lincoln.
Well, C's Candies is really good.
Chocolates. What type of chocolates? Did they take you took the first chocolate and you bit into it and you're like, oh, it wasn't that good.
Here's the thing.
And then the rest of the box was actually quite great.
Will Bolt, peanut butter guy. So last night, it's very rare when you get a box of chocolates that you have the peanut butter. Because you really don't.
That's like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
You get those two together.
His first 5 chocolates that he reached into the mystery box to grab were all peanut butter. And he's like, this tastes really good. And they might play Northwestern on Friday night.
You bite into
and Will Walsh will spin a dandy and they get beat 2-1. You'll be like, oh, that nougat. Ooh. Ooh. Hey,
the taffy.
Hey, I discovered something yesterday. Are you a Apple Music guy?
Yes, I am.
Do you know something that Apple Music has?
Bad connection.
Really?
I just feel like always it's a hit or miss of whether or not I can connect to my Apple Music.
I've never had that issue.
I can connect to my YouTube, always great, always fine, no matter where I'm at. But my Apple Music is very spotty and hit or miss. I don't know why. Maybe it's a phone thing. But continue.
No, I mean, if you want your own music. Because I'm no longer running BearShare at UNL, you go to YouTube, you convert the video into an MP3, and then you import it into your iTunes.
Oh,
you never done that trick?
No.
Oh, I must have 1,700 songs that I've done that with.
But why do you? Was this pre?
Because I'm frugal. Okay, that's just the bottom line. Is I'm frugal. I don't want to pay.
$9.99 a month ain't that bad.
$9.99. That's a lot. That's a lot.
It does add up.
It was just tax season, man. That's a lot.
It's fine for me.
Crap, I still got to do my
I'm actually
plate.
I say that now until I resubscribe to PFF in the fall, and then I'm going to be pinching pennies.
But I did run this across. I think I get Apple Music for free for something. It's like all of a sudden I got Sirius XM in my car again. I don't know. But thank you.
You didn't have to call and haggle?
Thank you to the people over at Woodhouse Buick, because when you did something, when I got my oil change, all of a sudden I was getting Sirius XM, and now I'm like, hey, we're glad that you're back as a customer. Your trial period ends. And I'm like, okay. But Apple Music has something that is a game changer. If you go to Apple Music,
I'll go right now.
They have every team's walk-up list for MLB.
Really?
Well, I'll be.
Okay, look, now it's working.
This day just got a hell of a lot better.
So how do you access that? Where do you?
Apple Music.
Well, do you look up? I'm on Apple Music, Jimmy. I'm saying, do I look up MLB? Do I look up Chicago Cubs?
Look up MLB.
Okay.
I'll do it
MLB
together.
Curator.
You are Leonard Skinner wrote a song about you, Jimmy, back in 1973.
Oh, wow. They do. Well, they have
The Simple Man.
Oh my God!
I was hoping you wouldn't say that smell. I think I smell okay today.
This is incredible. They have a lot of walk-up songs. They have 34. So every player. So I guess pitchers as well. If you're coming from the bullpen, they've added that in there. Holy crap!
It's fantastic.
That is incredible. I got to listen to these and maybe make a report back to who's got the
MLB
best.
what?
You just look up MLB, and then it just comes up.
Every team's walk-up songs
Look at the Cubs.
is on there.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, "Go Cubs Go" is the first song on the Cubs, and then it's followed. It goes "Go Cubs Go," then "Somos Latinos."
They're very similar.
Very similar. Very,
Yes.
very similar
Very
songs.
similar.
Same genre, some would say.
Yeah.
Oh my God, look at this. The MLB, if you look at they have Boston Red Sox, Chicago Cubs, they still have Oakland Athletics.
Ooh.
Oops.
Hey, step aside, A's, because tonight is a beam team night in Sacramento against the Mavs. Good luck.
4.5-point favorite.
Congratulations to your Bulls. Take it easy on
No,
us.
you win. I want you to win tonight.
No.
Go Heat.
No. We've had a strange year, and it's okay that strange doesn't need to live for another day.
How did you feel that Jimmy Butler dropped
This is
38
just
points
terrific.
yesterday in a pretty big win over the Memphis Grizzlies?
Still a cancer to the Heat. Have you seen our season?
It was cancer to my bank account. Thanks, Jimmy.
Playing Jimmy. How about Steve Kerr? Did you guys notice the T-shirt that he showed up with wearing in the postgame?
No, I did not. I
Oh,
did
3
not watch the
Spurs
Steve Kerr
championship
postgame.
shirt?
It was not.
No.
It was not. Harvard T-shirt.
Oh.
Okay.
Go Crimson.
What's the connection?
Just Harvard's been in the news, not for their hockey program.
Oh, yes, I saw that there on the television.
So it was just a subtle Steve Kerr who, dabbles in.
Dabbles is an understatement, but yeah, he's in the
He
political
doesn't.
world.
He has thoughts.
She doesn't shut up and coach dribbling.
Nope.
So I noticed that last night that he showed up wearing that. Good luck to the Houston Rockets, your number 2 seed
That's gotta
season.
be rough.
You get Steph Curry. The Warriors are minus 220 favorite in that series, and
What?
Mr. Curry is 4-0 in series against
Houston.
Houston.
Do you think they go 0-27 again in like the biggest game of multiple of those guys who's around that team's careers?
It's beautiful. It was a great night.
They went
Laughed my ass off.
It is hard to go.
It was
0
not a
for
great night if you're
27.
Memphis. Morant gets hurt, and then they have just an awful. Probably it was a little quick 5 seconds. I don't know. I don't know how much of a quickie you like with your 5 seconds, but it looked like it was a quick 5-second count. The officiating last night in this country
Left some to be desired.
Let me just have a word.
I'll let you
here.
have your moment.
Okay. The officiating in the NBA last night, whether it be Trae Young getting the boot or
That was
They threw him out of a.
Trae Young.
I mean, he kind of like
Trae Young needs to get out of Atlanta.
he wasn't necessarily innocent, but at the same time, we can.
So you get the game.
Joey Crawford.
You get the game last night. Well, before we get there, a buddy of mine, and I have to check with old Marty Cordero. So Union Omaha is in the U.S. Cup. So they're playing at Caniglia over on UNO's campus last night. The round of 30. They're on to the round of 32 because they beat San Antonio. And a friend of mine went and he said, "Hey, it was great. It was a lot of fun." He said, though, the officiating was god awful. Like there were 7 yellow cards. There was a fight like at the end of the game. Godfathers was just throwing out free pizzas. It was it was like chaos last night, but he said it was like fun. It was like great. So yeah, the officiating for the Union Omaha San Antonio game over at Caniglia, I guess, was brutal.
Oh my
But
God.
I'm watching the Memphis Golden State game. When both fan bases are ticked off at the officials, you know you got problems. There were so many phantom calls last night. Here, I'll give you an example. And this is going to make Flaky Jake irate because he's a diehard Golden State fan. And I have no skin in the game in this last night. But play-in Jimmy shot 18 free throws last night.
Yeah.
That's not supposed to happen.
Curry shot 13 free throws last night. Do you know what is the most free throws LeBron James has shot in the last 2 years in a game?
12.
It's either 4 or
Close.
61.
11.
11.
Which is still kind of like, whoa.
Yeah. No.
So that game was marred by like just blatant errors by the officials.
Even
But
that
they-
Atlanta-Orlando game, too, was a little
Huh.
like there were some 3-point fouls that were being called that you're like, really? Really?
So
Calling that?
like NBA officials last night, they had a rough night. Why doesn't, because I hear it with my football team that the whole damn NFL is rigged because of the Chiefs.
Sure.
Why don't we ever say that about the NBA? Well, I mean, I guess we did. And he
I'm
went to
pretty sure
jail.
the Lakers, there was a conspiracy with the Lakers at the beginning of the year that they actually did have like the highest free throw margin by a very wide margin entering this season. I did
Yeah.
see this on Twitter. So there definitely is already some combos about that the Lakers get a little bit of play. At the same time, they haven't been good enough and like won enough for it to be relevant at all, for that to be a consistent conversation. But
The NBA officials last night made officiating in women's college basketball
They used to have such good
look really good.
Didn't
and
the
women's
NFL
college basketball officiating is. Yeah.
Didn't the NFL recently demote like 3 NFL referees to college football?
They did.
Okay, so I got a problem with that.
Daryl Garrison rolling over in his grave.
Are we really just giving college football the NFL leftovers? And so then I'm assuming the NFL will replace those 3 referees with the 3 best or 3 very good college football referees. Like, isn't that pretty crappy for the game of college football? Like I feel like you're damaging the product in a very big way if you're being like, oh, we're going to give you our 3 worst and we're going to take 3 guys from you. Like, that's not good.
Sounds like the Mavs-Lakers trade.
I can't wait for Paige Beckers to go to the LA Sparks. I keep saying that. I'm going to run that joke into the ground, but...
Joey says, I heard the officials from the Nebraska-Ohio State basketball game were doing Golden State-Memphis last night.
People will never get over that.
Well, no, you won't get over it because what happened with the ball slam?
The game happened. Gary, the game happened. The game happened. The result occurred.
No!
Nebraska basketball had more opportunities to make the tournament after that. Come on. They won the crown, guys. Be happy. Be happy they won the crown. It happened. It happened a couple months ago.
All right, we may have I'm communicating with somebody that is an official that is familiar with something I just said. We may get them in the next segment.
Oh.
But speaking of Nebraska basketball, are you ready?
All right, Triple H.
I got no portal news. I got no portal. Are you ready? But I don't know how much you are dabbling in the portal. But Nebraska, Creighton, and Omaha have had a good start. Creighton's had an exceptionally good start.
Yes.
Omaha may get some gigantic news today.
Ooh.
Just a little teaser. But we have a date for Nebraska, Creighton basketball.
That's a big deal.
I'm going to need to see the NFL.
Hopefully not on a Friday night again.
You didn't like that Friday night?
No, well, I wasn't in town, so it's more a me thing. I wanted
Friday
to go.
night.
I was in Akron. I was doing the Omaha.
That's right.
Who were we playing? Alabama
Zips?
State. No, Omaha, Alabama State. While that game was going on.
Akron?
Yeah, we played in the MTE.
Okay.
So I was there and I had the Nebraska Creighton game on another computer in front of me. Because this is the time of the year before John Rothstein sleeps.
Yes.
He was the first to announce it. Even though all of the contract and scheduling information is available if you make the right
connections.
Yeah. Nebraska Creighton, December 7th. It is a Sunday again, which there are death taxes and Nebraska Creighton playing on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So that is going to happen at PBA.
Will the Chiefs be playing at the same time again in Cincinnati?
Ooh, that happened. That was the Kalkbrenner mono game or COVID game or whatever he had.
That was the last loss of that season for the Chiefs.
I was flying back from Texas. I was on a plane watching that game. Because
your memory recollection is impressive.
Because we had a player who then became an got-to-go situation named Lamell Robinson, who's from Kansas City. I asked him on his computer to bring up the Chiefs game, and then I had the Nebraska Creighton game up. So I was watching it. You're right. But so it's back on a Sunday. It's December 7th. I kind of like the Friday.
I like the Friday too.
I did.
I don't need to do anything on a Friday other than sit down and watch Nebraska basketball. And then you get to,
many people have said this.
Like the next day is whether it be in November, it could be a Nebraska football game. If it's in December, it could be, the championship week, whatever it may be, right? Like you get your Friday, Saturday, and then you get your Sunday. I hate it when this game coincides with events like if you're just trying to get like the Nebraska market, if you want as many people to watch the game in Nebraska as you possibly can, you should schedule it on a Friday. You should not schedule it on any other day. But
so we're probably looking at what, like late afternoon again?
I don't know. Like, would they
Sunday
do an
against the
11
NFL?
a.m. game?
Oh, that would be the worst.
Well, from a viewing experience and from like how many people are going to go to the game, it would be a worst case scenario. But from like we want to avoid
just play at the same time as the
NFL
Cowboys.
as well as much as possible. You would play it at 11 a.m., right? Because by the time that game ends, you're in like the halftime of the NFL games going on near it.
Yeah, I mean, all of us will watch because we have a vested interest in it. But I wish they would do this. So here's another idea I have with a dream. This does not include Nebraska having a fall or a spring practice at Omaha North.
Okay.
Quick update from OPS. Speaking of Omaha North,
Did they get back to you and you're like, Gary, this is an incredible idea. Would you like to man it for us?
No, it was.
Would you like to be in charge?
Burke Stadium is almost finished, so they shut it down for a year after state track. It's going to be good to go for the Metro Track tournament and then the state. They've made a lot of progress over at Burke.
Named the field after Josh Hudson.
And this week is a big week as they start the planning for the Omaha North Stadium. But I wish they would turn, like you got to, I'm a John Cooker.
Yeah.
I like to dream big.
Who isn't?
I wish they would turn like the Nebraska Creighton showcase game into, and last year the women played at Sokol. They played earlier in the day. Yeah. They're going to draw well. They need to separate those games, not have them on the same day. But I would like to see them make a Nebraska basketball day where around that game you have a high school game, you have a small college game, and then you have the big boys play.
All in Pinnacle Bank Arena?
And all in Pinnacle Bank Arena. Then the next year you have them play at the Chai.
I think that's a good idea.
High school,
I think it's a good idea.
Small college, and then the Nebraska
and
Creighton game.
Now, once again, I think this event depends on how much do you want to invest on the outside stuff of it too, because you can't. Well, you can make put tents up and have a little, maybe you put a 3-on-3 tournament in the rail yard and maybe
no.
Well,
now remember,
you're calling it Nebraska Basketball Day.
It's December.
Oh, that is a good point. Yeah, I don't really think of weather as much as I should. Yeah, just put them in and have them play.
I don't. Put that on the board.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why I show up every day in a light hoodie and sweatpants.
Now,
I dress for every weather.
I got to dream big, and I'm thinking about the awkwardness of the portal, where guys that you told to, you said mean things about their mom because they were on the opposing team, all of a sudden are on your team, and you're sitting next to their mom. So it gets kind of awkward. That's what the portal is. But think about the Nebraska Creighton game next year and the 3 Hawkeyes that'll be playing against each other.
Yeah.
Because we used to hate all 3. I like Josh Dix because he's a local guy. But we used to hate all 3.
And now it's now you hate 2 of them even more, and you love one of them who's going to have to be a big deal in that game.
But does let's say, and they have a history of going into Pinnacle Bank Arena and winning. If Creighton comes into PBA in December and wins the game, what if in the college basketball world of planting a flag?
Oh no.
They do something where Omaha is located on the map, or
they put a little star, like you're saying that you put a little blue jay on the state outline. Is that what you want them to do? That would cause a war.
Creighton comes on the floor after the game, after they win, and they surround where Omaha is, Douglas County, right on the floor. Or how about this?
I don't think any blue jays.
How about this? How about this from the Nebraska perspective? Okay, Sanford, he hits a shot.
Okay,
and he stomps on where Omaha is.
Okay, that would be like the greatest celebration.
Could you imagine Bishop's reaction to that?
Now that would once again, wars have started for less. Okay, I mean there already is.
He might get up and yell at KP.
And animosity amongst Creighton basketball fans and Nebraska basketball fans if that were to occur, and also to the disrespect. They have no class over there. The sportsmanship. What a terrible athletic department. What a terrible organization. Then they root for football the next day.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, well, the football team's got class, except if you ask about Iowa. But I think Owen Freeman, if he were to go to Pinnacle Bank Arena and drop 45 points and become the most hated player in Nebraska basketball history in some recent memory, that'd be pretty good for the brand. Pretty good for that rivalry.
But you guys see the dynamics of the portal? For example, a guy like Kendall Blue. So he has played against Omaha for the last couple of years, and I wish nothing but the worst of Kendall Blue. Okay?
That's how I feel about Kawhi Leonard.
And he pulled an act 2 years ago up there after making a shot that I thought, there's a guy that deserves a throat punch. Now, I did not say that on the air. Now, all of a sudden, he's playing in Nebraska.
Well, this is the reality you're going to have to deal with, okay? This is what we've been dealing with in pro sports forever, okay?
But in college now, the oddness of 3 Hawkeyes are going to be playing
in
Creighton and Nebraska is, you're right. A Freeman has a chance to really become one of the most hated opposing Nebraska players of all time.
That is, I mean, that's what this brings. But that's like, we've seen this in baseball too, right? Isn't there that one guy that always beats your team? They always hit bombs against your team, whether or not they play for this team or whether or not they play for that team.
Like
you're
Calixto, who played at Creighton last year.
Yeah.
All of a sudden comes back and you're like, hey man, I like that guy. Whoa. I don't know what to say.
You're like,
sounds like Robert Ory to me.
You're like, no matter what jersey Paul Goldschmidt is wearing, he is coming into Wrigley and he's going to hit 2 bombs, whether you like it or not. And you're like, I cannot stand this guy. This is what college football, this is what your college sports in general. If you're a college sports fan, you're going to have to get used to it, right? What happens when I hate Robert Tonyan for 4 years and all that guy does is kill me in the red zone? And then all of a sudden he's on my team. And now I'm calling him Bobby touchdowns.
Can you imagine in today's portal era, if Brad Davison or Aaron Kraft transferred to your school, you've hated them in the Big Ten. Like you've hated them with a passion.
Can I tell you something right now?
Or Grant Gibbs. Like what if Grant Gibbs would have transferred to Nebraska?
Well,
you hate Grant Gibbs, and all of a sudden he's on your team, and you're like, oh, I love you.
Can you imagine if like Boo Booey went anywhere in the Big Ten? Be like, this guy's killed us. If Max Klesmit transferred to Nebraska, I don't know what I would do.
But is he hated?
I hate him. Hate's a strong word. I very much dislike.
So you'd be a one-man hate party.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Okay.
1,000,000%.
All right, we may get a bottom line of what happened at Union Omaha last night.
I would love to hear it.
The text I got was, it was a great night. Union Omaha won.
And then it was an S show.
Godfather's was giving away free pizza. It was awesome. And the officials sucked, and there was a fight. I'm like, Union Omaha! That's why you're getting a new stadium.
I want to go to those games.
We'll take a break, come back. Plus, we'll talk about, is Riley Van Poppel paid enough at Nebraska?
I think he's paid fine.
Do you know how much he's being paid?
No clue.
Well, that's what we'll discuss when we come back. John Walker joins us top of the hour. We'll think if he thinks my idea of...
You have a lot of ideas this week. I mean, we have to keep a list of all the ideas.
You don't think
you want all these football days, basketball days,
you don't
trades.
think that is crossed? Hey, like a guy like Fedor, he's not from here.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, when you make a big 3, stomp on where Lincoln is on the map.
I think Fedor likes his DMs clear of anybody who is going to be in them. I think he likes his livelihood. I think he doesn't like being hated on, or the pitchforks or the knives coming up to his car.
He comes from a country where a lot of people during the Olympics hate them.
Yeah, but I don't know. Once again, wars have started for less than stomping on Lincoln on the state outline or planting a sticker.
Should we discuss the Archduke Franz Ferdinand?
I was about to say.
Hey, if I was a high school kid, I would search that out. Like in Class B, you beat Scottsbluff. I would run to where Scottsbluff is, and I would just bam, bam, bam. It might hurt you from winning the sportsmanship trophy, but
yeah,
really,
they skip you in the medal.
At the end of the day, who remembers who won the sportsmanship trophy? We've also got Brandon Vogel at 1620 The Zone. Before we get to our guest, we have, I'm going to say it's poaching. There is interesting news in the college basketball world in the portal. So Trace Eaglestaff, who had a 50-burger against South Dakota State in the Summer League tournament, he had 40 against Alabama, committed to South Carolina.
Yeah.
He has just decommitted from South Carolina. So he becomes one of the best available players in the portal. That is what we call poaching. It had been out there, murmurs, for about a week. Where will Trayson Eaglestaff go? He had committed to South Carolina. Somebody missed out on their target and said, are you sure?
Sure.
And,
but you're lying.
Oh.
So here's my question, man. I'm shocked in a way that, and once again, this is how these things are published and whatnot, and we don't have a CBA, but you would think when they commit, they want to get them pen to paper, commit to the contract as soon as possible.
Now remember, as a
right?
I think this is still the same. When you're in the portal, you don't sign an NIL, or not an NIL, but a letter of intent.
Okay.
So
wow,
there's no binding agreement.
Shoot.
So Trayson Eaglestaff is back in the portal, decommitting from South Carolina. That's John Walker of Creighton is involved.
Ooh.
When he joins us coming up at 9.
Good Lord, the offense that was.
Okay, last night we told you over at Caniglia, Union Omaha advanced to the round of 32 in the Open Cup. They're on a banger. They're playing well. And for people that were last night had a really good time, but the officiating was not so good. Marty Cordero, who was there last night, is going to update us on what happened. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay,
Matt, you should have been there. If you like action, you like activity, and you like controversy, you should have been there.
You know what?
You like your life? You should have been at the Union Omaha game last night.
Gary was describing me what happened yesterday at the game, and I thought, this is right up my alley. I mean, free food, great atmosphere, high-level soccer, and then crappy officiating that you can get mad at. Like, this is every sports person's dream, if you ask me.
Literally my childhood.
Yeah. Soccer has a challenge at the lower professional levels. What's happened in the United States is the pro game has expanded so rapidly.
Sure.
And the officiating has not kept up. The officials, there's an organization called Pro, and they're independent of MLS, USL, the other lower level professional leagues. And it simply has not kept up. And last night you saw that in the first half, where we were up 1-0 after one, and we could have been up 3, but we should have been up 2.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened in the second half is the frustration boiled over as you have the higher level, in essence, AAA San Antonio club, who's one of the top 5 performing clubs at the championship level year in, year out. Very frustrated that lower level team basically kicked them all over the field last night.
Yeah.
And then you had questionable officiating as well. And it just boiled over, but it made for a great atmosphere. There were plus 11 extra minutes at the end of the 90 minutes last night. So not only did you have the regular time controversy and both sides obviously questioning officiating, rightfully so last night. However, 11 extra minutes last night didn't help either.
Well, a win, and now on. What's next in the Open Cup?
Yeah, the draw will be tomorrow. There's another set of matches tonight, and then the draw will be tomorrow. I think it's noon.
Okay.
And we'll find out if we will host the next round. Will be May 6th and May 7th.
Okay.
Last year, that was the round that we hosted
for
Sporting KC at Caniglia, the round of 32 last year. And what's really cool, though, this squad continues to win. This is the third out of the last 4 years that we've at least made it to the round of 32. If you think back to 22, we made it to the round of 16. So, by far, we're the most decorated and successful League One franchise in the country. And we still have not lost to a USL Championship club in the 6 years that, we've been playing. So, yeah, a lot of success. A lot of credit goes to Dominic Casciato and former Creighton Blue Jay Deon Akoff scored the winner and the only goal last night, and continues to be a mainstay for the club. But really excited about the next round, and if we host, it will be at Caniglia again on either the 6th or 7th.
Ooh, okay.
And then our home openers on May 10th.
All right.
Okay.
All right. We'll see you a little bit later this morning.
Hey, Warner Park, are you gonna be in the 6,500 kids, or are you gonna be touring?
I will be right there with some SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh Lord.
Let me hear you scream.
Yeah, it's going to be a great day, and we're really excited. This is our annual Kids Day, and over 110 buses, over 6,500 kids today. So it's going to be awesome. We won't have Paul Skeens like we had last year.
I know.
But Norfolk's in town. First time the Orioles affiliate has visited Warner Park. So first pitch, 12:05.
Hey, no, 11:05.
Oh, you are paying attention. Got it. Okay.
Oh,
wow!
I see what you.
Wow.
Hey, it's okay. It's okay. You're a busy man.
11:05 today, home through Sunday. But look, transfer portal, no commitments. Yeah, we'll have to talk college sports one day. It's busy. I don't know how you guys do it every day. It's busy keeping up with.
I don't know how you stay loyal to Louisiana Tech with all this stuff going on, but that's you're a very loyal man.
Not a lot for me. I'm just trying to keep up with my brother's team down in Troy and seeing if they're going to be able to keep any of their players after their NCAA tournament run. Yeah. Look, it impacts everybody at all levels, but primarily the lower levels.
Yeah, it definitely does. All right, MC, thank you.
Take care.
All right, 11:05 today, Kids Day. If you want to hang out with kids, if you're allowed to.
Context. Yes.
So here's back to the Trace and Eagle staff.
Yeah.
On3 is reporting that he has been in contact with Iowa. Ben McCollum, welcome to Big Boy College basketball.
That would be a massive
dude or what
for that team. I mean, the way, and also too, watching the couple of Drake games that I watched and like their ball movement, if they got a guy like that who can shoot the lights out with his confidence, now, man, that would be now Trace and Eagle staff would
shoot early in the shot clock.
Sure,
the Drake Bulldogs shot late, so we'll have to find a medium.
Well, Ben McCollum did say during his presser, he's like, we shot late because we didn't have good players. He's like, we didn't have enough skill guys to shoot earlier in the clock. Hopefully, we'll get skill guys to play a more medium style pace instead of the snail pace that they played at Drake. But
I'm glad how college basketball this year will be all offense and nobody will play defense.
Trace and Eagle staff is going to be, if he goes to the Big Ten, easily one of the most hated players right away because
he's got a great story.
Well, no. I'm not talking about
surprised that people are a little bit surprised they left North Dakota because he is very much revered in his tribe.
I'm not talking about personally. I'm just talking about when you watch him on the court, you just can't stand like those guys who they just rained threes on you. They just hit threes on you. They hit daggers to you. They score big points. They have those massive games. Those are the types of players
cool against us. Like he had history with South Dakota State, so fans were on him, so he was blowing.
I'm not talking.
He was giving him the 50 sign. Which is funny.
I'm not talking about him like being a showboat or anything like that. I'm just talking about that style of play. It's just like I feel like those dudes who can hit monster threes, dagger threes, who can just go off at any point.
Like Shireman hit threes, but then when he blew kisses, that's when it was like,
sure,
we had throat punch time. Okay, so while we're talking about the portal and a guy who played at Northwestern last year, quarterback Mike Wright is looking for his fourth school.
Terrible.
Well, he's got 16 career starts at 3 different schools. Awful. He's now in the portal. I think we should take this opportunity to celebrate people that stick around and are brought up the right way. And maybe it's because their dad is a professional pitcher whose career did not work out so well. And I would like Todd Van Poppel to take back my baseball cards that I bought because I thought he was going to be this great player.
That's kind of rude.
I actually we had him on air. We had Riley and Todd on when he committed, and so I told his dad. So enough. Riley Van Poppel spoke yesterday, and everybody has seen. So Riley Van Poppel spent a lot of time watching Tyson Terry this past winter. He'd come to Omaha and watch him wrestle. And if you saw Riley, Riley is a lot bigger than he was last year. I mean, he's cock diesel. He looks like a combination of Nash and Ty right now.
Yeah.
I mean, his arms block out the sun. So he spoke yesterday, and it goes back to the trust. Like, he trusted that Nebraska had a plan for him. And, now Nebraska trusts him to step into a role where interior defensive line in the Big Ten is a dark place. Weird things happen. Yeah. You got to be more than a man to be in there. So he talks yesterday. I think the fact that he stuck around, because I bet he got he got people that slid into his DMs.
Oh my God.
And I hope Nebraska, because they like to spend money to retain. I hope they made Riley Van Poppel one of the top 10 paid players on this roster. But we should celebrate guys like Van Poppel and other guys that easily you could have left, but they stuck around, and now he's going to be a guy that they're going to rely on heavily. We probably in the media, we need to talk more about the Riley Van Poppel stories instead of the Mike Wright stories where Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, Northwestern, now wherever else you're going.
We have to celebrate the guys who are committed to the school. Riley Van Poppel was committed to Nebraska. He wasn't committed to the number that he was getting in his bank account. He wasn't committed to, all the nice things and living in luxury or anything like that some of these other players that across the country are committed to. He's committed to playing for Nebraska, being, representing the school, wearing that jersey, wearing the N. That's less and less. You don't see that. And as the years have gone on, even the guys that you think would be, the first couple of years, you think, oh, maybe they're like that. They end up getting a really good opportunity and they might go elsewhere. And that just happens across the country. That's not a Nebraska thing. But you're right. You have to celebrate those types of players. And we are getting to the point in college football where there's so much crap. Like there's just so much negative stories. Mm-hmm. There's so many things to get mad about that not to compare leagues, but I think that's one of the NBA's problems. Like the NBA, I think, focuses too much on the bad stuff that goes on and not the positive stuff that goes on. In the day and age that we are in college sports, we need to focus on the good stories. Warm our cockles. Make us feel good. Make us enjoy the sport again. Give us, whether it be very rare, give us an idea of hey, there still are remnants of the college football and the college sports you used to love.
All good, all appropriate. We're together. Now, the other part of playing defensive line in Nebraska is you want to put a timetable on how long we're going to go before we stop talking about Ty and Nash. Now, side note, Dane Brugler has got his 257 picks on The Athletic today. Ty Robinson, 3rd-round pick. Thomas Fedoni, a 6th-round pick. But Ty and Nash are attached at the hip until when?
Until one of these guys prove that they're a star. And I think that when
you had 2 guys last year that combined for, did they combine for over 1,000 snaps? Ty and Nash?
Have to.
So Ty was at 598. I think Nash was 450. Is that right? So 2 guys that combined in the interior defensive line for over 1,000 snaps.
And most of your tackles for loss and a lot of your sacks and the biggest plays of the year. And when the defense looked the best, those 2 were playing at the highest level.
I mean, there's not a guy on this roster that's going to give you 598 snaps playing defensive line.
I don't think they currently right now. Yeah, I don't think they could tell you if there's anyone who could do that. I don't think they're like you said. And this is more in particularly for the defensive line. You said earlier, there's a lot of good players, not enough great players. I think the defensive line, they are the shining example of that. Cam Lenhart's name. You've seen him play before. Keona Davis's name. Riley Van Poppel's name. We've heard good things about Jalen George. Elijah Judy has been around this program for a while. But for me, when I'm looking at the defense, I do have concerns. I have big concerns about the defensive line because, yes, these guys have played, and yes, we've seen them, and yes, we know their name, but they haven't had that much experience. They haven't had that much production, and we're going a lot off of people feel comfortable about this defensive line. If you do feel comfortable with the defensive line, it's because of potential, not because of production, and that's a scary place to be, in my opinion. Now, all three of these guys could work out, and Nebraska could have a dynamite defensive line. But they all could not also work out or have injury problems. And then you have a depth issue. Like
it could rain or it might not rain.
I mean, the
facts.
I am very, very worried about the defensive line because of that range, because of how good it could be or how great it could be. And also how it could definitely be a weakness of this defense just because you have 3 guys and Van Poppel, Keona Davis, and Lenhart we're all excited about, but they had last year 29 tackles, 5.5 of them were for loss combined. Now, granted, Riley Van Poppel was redshirted. He only played 4 games. But, Davis and Lenhart played all 12 games. It's just I worry
You're missing
greatly.
A guy. I'm missing it.
Winery?
You're missing a guy. No, interior defensive line.
Missing a guy.
because he'll play. And we don't think that he's a frontline guy, but he won't be a 598 snap guy. But he may be a 350 snap guy.
Who am I missing?
Elijah Judy.
I said Judy.
Okay.
Well, I didn't combine him in those three, but I'd mentioned
because
right.
they'll have to go 4 to 5.
They will. Jalen George is going to have to be a really big part of this team. I mean, he is going to, and you know, I heard up to this point that he was having a good camp, but I mean, he's going to have to be a big part, because once you kind of start looking past those 4 guys, you start getting even deeper and deeper into the, well, they don't have any production. They don't really have a lot of games played.
That's it's man, you got to be a grown ass man to play defensive line in the Big Ten. And two years ago, going into that season, we knew a little bit more about Ty. Nash hadn't gotten his opportunity 2 years ago. And as they grew, I mean, it's tough to stick Keona Davis, who hasn't played, but his body now is starting to look like a Big Ten defensive lineman, and go, hey, go out there and play his 400 snaps. So, yes, you have all the caution in the world. That's why at the end of spring, when I always walk out, this year it'll be out of the Husker games, to survive the Husker games, I always have a gut of what this team is going to do, and that's what my pick is. I might have to wait, because the uncertainty of what offensive line and defensive line, not because of the skill level, but just because of who's playing, I might wait a little bit longer to give you a prediction on what Nebraska's record's going to be.
This D line is missing 24 sacks from last season.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's no like hesitation on. No. You got some guys that they had 2 guys combined for over 1,000 snaps.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, look, I'm not telling you not to be encouraged by some of these young guys that you've seen in the past. At the same time, you got to see it to believe it. And that's how I am with this D line. I got to see it to believe it.
They did, at least for 2 years, get Riley Van Poppel wet.
Yes.
So now it's his turn to be the combo of Ty and Nash. And I think he actually ate Ty and Nash because he looks like it.
Looked massive yesterday.
All right, John Walker, Brandon Vogel coming up in the last hour in 1620 The Zone. No.
Oh, man, this has been a good day. The only thing bad has been the smell outside.
Yeah, friggin' people from Kansas.
It's doing it again, I'm telling you.
Smells like
the Horseshoe Casino.
Yeah, the Huskers won 40 straight years against KU, and this is their payback.
I actually think outside right now smells better than the inside of that casino.
Yeah.
Hey, those people, your favorite people over there?
Yeah, they are. I love those people over there.
You need to have a discussion. They're the ones that aren't moving along the. We need to get them more on board with the online.
Yeah.
Mobile gambling.
I might go to that steakhouse sometime. I don't know. I looked at that menu. It looks really good. Maybe after.
Don't you know, like right? You leave from here and go there.
Not every day. Like if I have
every other.
Yeah. Just days that.
Yeah, probably every other.
I would say every
4 out of 5 days, 80%.
Every other.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't make sports bets every day. I make them on the days where I'm like, oh, I like
sports
that pick.
today.
You still have the pamphlet?
Yeah, it's in.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Could have used your help yesterday.
Speaking of things that happen at a casino,
ooh,
a couple of things came across in the entertainment world. I was going to explain this earlier, and I think we got sidetracked.
Yeah,
we've had a few.
Yeah, because you were talking about death. Yeah. So I made a mistake. I had the chance to go see ZZ Top when it was the original ZZ Top, and I missed out on it. And I was like, so they're coming back again. They're going to be at Pinewood Bowl. I think I have to see. I think ZZ Top is one of those bands that you have to see. But they're not, one of the brothers passed away.
Right.
Now, the other thing that I saw yesterday, yay or nay on Penn and Teller? Because they're coming to Omaha. Yay?
Yay.
Have you seen them?
No, so I have not. No. Wait.
I'm with you.
This is legit. I have not seen them live.
Okay.
But I do. They're on YouTube. They're always on YouTube, and they have this
incredible. Be on Letterman all the time, and then I don't know what happened to that show.
They have this great show called Fool Us, where they have amateur on YouTube, where they have amateur like magicians come and they try and fool Penn and Teller, and so like they get to show how genius they are in terms of magic, how like they try and guess how they do the magic tricks, but then they do their own stuff like too in those shows as well. They're absolutely incredible. Like they are the things that they can do, but like
they're getting up there in age.
They are getting up there in age, but they are showmen. Like they are true showmen. Like they know how to manipulate a crowd with more than just okay, the ball is like here, the ball is there.
Or Gallagher.
Looks like Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you'd say yay. Go see him.
I would totally go. I'll probably go and see Penn and Teller. Honestly, I would love to see Penn and Teller. I like magic. I do enjoy, if it pops up on my YouTube, I enjoy watching magic.
He was my first favorite player.
I enjoy a lot of things. There's really nothing that I don't
enjoy
watching or enjoying.
Lice and death.
Those are the two
Could
things
one lead to the other? Find out next.
I called one of those things a fraud.
So your favorite magician would be like Bob at Merlehaim Mall in the magic shop, or like David Blaine?
There's this guy,
David Copperfield?
There's this guy named
Anthony Hardaway?
There's this guy named Koska Kimlat. He's a magician that also doubles as an accountant. Like, he was a CPA, and then he became like a really popular magician. And so he uses a lot of like math and accounting type, like magician type things. Like it's a very unique way that he presents his magic. And so he's some of the tricks that he has. Like he's fooled Penn and Teller multiple times. So, yeah.
Letterman fooled Penn and Teller one time. He would be I wouldn't call him.
How did Letterman fool Penn and Teller?
They were going to cut off a hand, and all of a sudden Letterman had the hand.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
You have to go watch it.
I barely watch David Letterman. I've watched barely anything of David Letterman.
Well, he's not on right now.
Yeah, I know.
He's taking a hiatus.
He looks like Santa,
and that does
is a statement. Just a blanket statement. He's got a really long gray beard. Looks like Santa.
So you're out on Letterman because he looks like
Santa?
I'm not.
I know. Did I say I was in or did I say I was out? I didn't say anything. I just said he looks like Santa.
I think you said you were out.
Wait, I thought you said you liked the Santa Claus movies. We were just talking about that. I was bragging about you at home.
Well, he's not in them.
Letterman.
That's
so
true.
I was a diehard Letterman fan.
Okay.
And what he has done in the afterlife of being, his show.
That's a good show.
The most recent is Caitlin Clark.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very good interviewer. He puts people at ease.
Yeah.
So one quick thing here on the magicians, because I once wanted to be a magician because there was somebody in the magician shop at Merlehaim Mall. It was right next to the Orange Julius. And this guy would do the cup thing where the ball would disappear.
Sure.
And so when you're young, you believe that it actually disappears.
Yes.
And then as you get older, you start to question Bob because Bob's got some priors and he does some tricks. And all of a sudden that ball is in his pocket.
Bob's
and
got some priors.
Where's my watch?
Shut down the magician shop.
Really?
Yeah, I think he forgot to pay child support. That's what my mom said. I don't know if she was taking it out on Bob because Bob cost us a lot of money because I'd go in there and buy a lot of magic stuff.
Sure.
When I was little.
You get the worms in the cans and whatnot.
But boom, he just shut down. Oz Perlman, magician or mentalist?
So I would call him Oz. I don't know what that is. I don't know how he does it. He is him. Like David Blaine.
Yeah.
Like David Blaine's David Blaine, right? He's like extremist magician. Oz is Oz. I literally, before that guy passes away, he needs to tell us it. He needs to tell us how he does it.
I am not the dark cloud of the show anymore.
I'm telling you right now, I don't know how he does it, and it freaks me out.
What freaks us out is you've talked about death all day.
None of this is wood. You don't have any wood around you.
We're in trouble.
Knock on my head here.
Let's talk to Chris. Good morning, Chris.
Hey, yes, I wanted to bring up a very cool local element to Penn and Teller being in town.
Mm-hmm.
If either of you have looked up the David Abbott House, which is in Field Club,
okay,
it is
You're typing now.
House that.
Oh,
it's a house. So Teller has helped the Omaha Musicians Society buy this house that was a theater that Houdini and all the old school musicians would go and learn illusions from this guy, David Abbott, who rigged his entire house into a magic theater.
Is this the one that's over in the Field Club? That neighborhood?
It's over in the Field Club. Yeah.
Okay. That's a great story. That is.
Wow. I'm reading about it now. This is incredible.
Hey, Chris, thanks for the phone call. That's pretty cool. So that's the connection.
Can you take tours of to see how rigged it is and everything like that? I would do that.
He's not talking about the NBA or the NFL. If you're just tuning in, this is magic.
This is magic. Oz isn't a magician though. Oz is Oz. That dude. He is insane. Yeah.
So Teller, on Chris's point, it's another listener has said it's at 33rd and Center.
Yeah.
He said Teller acquired the residence from David Abbott and his wife, and so they have kept it. It's like if 33rd and Center is not only Field Club, but the Hanscom neighborhood area, the park area over there. Wow. So that's a great connection. I wonder.
The organization plans to open the house in the summer of 2026.
Okay.
There you go.
So they're going to make it into basically a museum, essentially, and you can walk around and I think just, see. I mean, it's incredible.
We'll go.
And it's a very nice,
Hey, that's awesome.
It is really well kept for something that was built in 1913.
Well, you need to go over that neighborhood. There's a lot of nice homes over there.
Yeah. Is there? I don't know. I have no clue. I couldn't tell you, man. Not yet.
Figured that. You're probably also the guy that confused Penn and Teller with Siegfried and Roy.
Nope.
They're both in Vegas doing shows.
I confuse a lot of people with a lot of people.
Hey, Penn and Teller make things disappear. Siegfried and Roy, one of their body parts disappeared.
How many Nebraska football players will disappear in the transfer portal?
We don't want to talk about sports.
Okay, fair enough.
John Walker will join us next.
It'll be awkward then.
Could be real awkward.
Why
you just talk magic with John Walker? John, you like sleight of hand?
Yeah, we did go through a downturn of magicians. Did Copperfield and Blaine run the ham and egger magician out?
Big time.
We also don't have as many magic shops.
You don't see them
where you can just walk into a strip mall and there's a magic shop.
That's a great point. You don't see them on the street anymore. What happened to street magicians?
16th Street Mall in Boulder.
72nd
Pearl
and Dodge.
Street.
Okay, I'll find them.
Yeah. No, 72nd and Dodge. They're probably
protesting
the magicians.
Fair enough.
It happens.
Yeah.
John Walker from the World Herald coming up next on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome to Palooza, where our worlds collide, where we get college basketball and college football, both portaling at the same time. Sometimes you get confused, and a football player commits to a basketball school.
Like a Bo Atkinson's going to NC State? What's going on?
We welcome in John Walker of the Omaha World Herald, who loves this season, loves tracking down portal candidates, don't you?
How are the DMs?
Man, yeah, the DMs are they're busy as always this time of year. I have a girlfriend. Everyone calm down.
Whoa, but no one was accusing you of anything.
Well, yeah, that's how the DMs work. What do you mean?
Did she slide into your DM?
Yeah, did you slide into hers?
I slid into hers.
Wow,
so,
good on you.
I don't know, 5 years ago at this point. So
holy crap!
Here we are, 5 years later, man. But no,
Instagram or Twitter?
It's a
or you don't want to answer, John. You don't have to answer.
Instagram.
Okay,
Instagram.
Attaboy. Wow,
it's been a while. I had to remember, but no, it's a busy time of year, as you guys can imagine. That's really what it boils down to, is sliding in a few DMs and seeing where kids are committing to schools.
Yes. Okay. On that note, so you look. Yesterday, I was looking on On3, and they have currently Creighton's transfer class is the 4th best in the country. And, Creighton has had a strategy, and they've hit pretty much on all their targets, whether they're frontline guys or depth guys. Austin Swartz is a very intriguing guy that we'll ask you about in a moment, that is the most recent from Miami. Do you sense, though, and I don't know how much you pay attention to way too early top 25s, or John Rothstein thinks he's got to do 45, but does Creighton, you look at their roster, their roster about as good as anyone. Doesn't their roster seem better than the 23rd best team in the country in the preseason?
It does. The pieces certainly do. I mean, they just do. If you can, I understand you go get, or you lose Ryan Kalkbrenner and you lose Stephen Ashworth and you lose Jemiah Neal. But we knew entering this season it was going to look different anyways, right? Mm-hmm. There was no 1-for-1 replacement for any 3 of those guys, especially not the big fella. Mm-hmm. So we knew it was going to look different. Well, so what did Creighton do? Well, Greg McDermott and his staff went and got the top-rated center in this year's transfer class, and they got one of the best overall players in this year's transfer class in Josh Dix. And they've obviously piled on behind that, but those 2 alone are enough for you to go, oh wow, okay. Yep. So I think roster wise, you could make the argument it's a top 15 team, and you could probably make that argument easily. The question is obviously going to be, and I think this is kind of why you see Creighton hanging in that 23, 22 range in most of these way too early rankings, is because of the uncertainty. And a lot of teams are dealing with that too. But few more than Creighton, simply because of the production that they're losing.
John, I might be wasting a question here, but I do have a hypothetical with you, because I think the age that we're in with college sports, right, rev share and teams like Creighton and the Big East are going to benefit greatly from that, and they've already done that with the incredible transfer portal class that they have. Coach Mack is, the wording is within the next 2 seasons, he is no longer going to be the coach of Creighton. That's the expectation, and then Alan Huss will take over. Do you think, though, that maybe at the end of the 2 years and experiencing all of the resources that he has because of rev share and knowing the ability that he has in the transfer portal to build really competitive teams that he's already done already in this transfer portal cycle, do you think at the end of 2 years he might look back and say, well, I don't know, I like this. I like having the money. I like having these resources. Maybe I try one more time. Maybe I give it another shot. Or do you sense this is kind of no matter what, it's 2 seasons?
Yeah, I personally think it's no matter what, 2 seasons. Greg McDermott has, I obviously haven't been here, but I've done a little bit of research. He has said for a while that he doesn't want to coach until he physically can't coach. He doesn't want to be one of those guys. He wants to enjoy time with his family. He wants to, he wants to go golf. And so, no, I don't think so personally.
Okay.
Because there's a lot more to it nowadays.
Sure.
Like all of the reasons you just said are like all of the reasons that Greg McDermott didn't get into this profession, 30 some years ago. Sure. Just wanted to coach ball, and it's obviously snowballed into a lot more than that. And obviously, he would have had to have been he was very transparent with his intentions to Alan Huss. Otherwise, Huss wouldn't have joined the staff and to be a coach in waiting.
So there are many cases of coach in waiting, and you kind of wrote about this last week. And I look at football, like Will Muschamp didn't work out, coach in waiting. Bill Stewart, West Virginia, didn't work out, coach in waiting. Those are just two quick ones on the football side. But I look at one of the more recent ones, John Shire, and you can say it's Duke, but you're replacing a legend.
Yeah.
That was a good coach in waiting. And everything we know about Coach Huss and the Creighton situation, why will this be one of those stories that this is coach in waiting will work and not be, oh no, 2 years after the head coach left and the coach in waiting took over, we're like, we're regretting this decision. Why do you believe, John, that this will work, this setup?
At the end of the day, like through and through, Alan Huss is a Blue Jay. Like, I could end the answer there, truthfully. Mm-hmm. Like he played for Dana Altman. He worked with Greg McDermott, and so he's worked alongside or played for two of the best coaches, the two best coaches in program history. So he has the pedigree. He knows what it takes to win. More importantly, he knows what it takes to win at Creighton. And then somebody asked me this late last week, or maybe over the weekend, similar, how similar Huss's offense is. And I said, well, it's a little bit similar, but it's not a 1-for-1 with Mac. They still like to get up and down the floor and shoot a little bit. But then just the game itself. I think that the X's and O's will be a seamless transition, like Alan Huss when he was previously here 6 seasons. Drew stuff up in late game situations, in the huddle, drew stuff up throughout the week, obviously. And then we saw the success that his offense has had at High Point. And so there's that first and foremost. And then he can recruit his tail off, mm-hmm. As we all know. And a large part of that is from his experience at La Lumiere on the high school scene. And that's a pretty big program in that regard. And so he's got ties everywhere. He was at UNLV. He was at High Point. He was at Creighton. He was at La Lumiere. He has all these ties everywhere, and that'll help you recruit. Long meandering way to say, I think that it'll be a seamless transition. And I think that there's only one guy who could have made this a genuinely seamless transition once Greg McDermott hangs it up in the next couple of years, and that guy's now the coach in waiting.
So let me ask you, outside of you like pronouncing where he was coaching at a prep school. So I'm going to throw another one in, and this is again a football to basketball. Matt Painter was a coach in waiting under Gene Cady, and we know how that's worked. So why do you think maybe it works? The transition is seamless in basketball compared to football.
Well, there's just a lot more to it, and there are a lot more ways to skin a football than there are basketball.
Fair.
Like we see that everywhere. And obviously different conferences have different styles in basketball too. I understand that. But football is so matchup dependent some nights. Unless it's just a huge talent discrepancy, then it really comes down to matchups. And it does in basketball too, sure, but like at the end of the day, if you can manufacture an offense to get open looks and hit shots, it doesn't really matter what system you're running. You can win. But Michigan, TCU in the national championship a few years ago was a really good example of that, of what can happen when you have a bad stylistic matchup and a talent discrepancy. So yeah, I think that's all of that makes it harder. Makes it harder to transition in football. But yeah, I don't think I genuinely don't think Creighton will have any problems with the transition itself. It'll be a little bit of a shock that first year without Greg McDermott. How couldn't it be? Maybe it will the second year too. But I don't think there will be a mass exodus or program overhaul or this, that, and the other when Mac decides to hang it up. That's interesting though. I hadn't thought about that.
Currently, right now, where would you rank the Big East in terms of strength amongst the Power 5 conferences? Just real quick, where would you rank them?
I would, in terms of resources, talent,
or just
overall?
in terms of overall how the teams are. Just how is the conference? Where would you rank the strength
how the
of
teams
conference?
are? I'd probably say it's the third best conference in the country right now.
Where do you think, with rev share and the fact that they are basketball schools not having to deal with football being a priority, where do you think this conference can rank in 5 years?
In 5 years, it could be first. The problem is, guys, I think so much changes by then. I really do. I just think we're in for another round of changes by the end of the decade. Yeah. So I could see the Big East jumping to first because, we won't go fully down the rabbit hole yet, but, everyone's aware of what rev share does for the Big East compared to what it'll do for the SEC, Big Ten, ACC. But at the end of the day, these SEC schools were A-OK, as we saw this year, without rev share. I think they're going to be A-OK once the Big East gets a little bit of money too. Now it'll obviously boost the Big East on a national scene, but I'd be a fool to think that let's say 3 years from now, and let's say a Big East team the Big East dominates the next couple of years with rev share. I'd be a fool to think that, I don't know, Alabama isn't like, okay, well, we're tapped out on rev share, but hey, we can still go compile NIL. We can still go get donor money. And if you guys don't want to lose, they're telling their donors, if you guys don't want to lose to Creighton, if you guys don't want to lose to Villanova, then we need money. And so I think a large part of the SEC, a decent chunk of the Big Ten, and only a couple of schools in the ACC are going to have the donor base to do that. And I think they will by the time all of this catches up. I think the Big East is a top 3 basketball league moving forward with room to improve, but I'm just not sure if the big spenders at power conference schools are going to let that happen. We'll see though.
Yeah, I think Greg Sankey will not let that happen. He will say, okay, there's no more loopholes. We're going to even the playing field, and you guys are going to take a step back. Let me shift to, since we last talked, another edition in really an unreal portal class that Creighton has been able to put together. He seems to have gone under the radar a little bit because he's not going to walk on campus and probably be a starter, and he was in a miserable situation last year with everything that was going on at Miami. But Austin Swartz appears to me to be an underrated prospect coming from Miami after 1 year to Creighton. What's your thoughts? Have you gotten a chance to look at him more?
Yeah, I watched a little bit of film, quite a bit of film. He's a dog. He really is. And that gets thrown around a lot, but it's way, way, way different. Okay, they are not the same players, but he reminds me so much of Jemiah Neal, just strictly as a portal product. Somebody who had limited opportunities in a tumultuous stop at their previous place. And they're just a talented, versatile scorer who can defend a little bit and get out and run in transition. And in that scoring talent just needs to be tapped into in a different system. Well, I think Jemiah Neal worked out pretty well last season. And so I think Austin Swartz will be okay in the long run. But at the end of the day, like, he's a former top 50 recruit, a former 4-star recruit who, again, probably had his resume tanked a little, his personal resume tanked a little bit just because of everything that transpired at Miami this year. Like, they finished 7-24. Jim Larrañaga retired. I don't know, like the day after Christmas or something like that. So it was a tumultuous freshman season. But yeah, he's a talented scorer who obviously adds to the backcourt depth, and we saw how important that could be to Creighton last year when it was only, Stephen Ashworth handling the ball for a little bit. I don't think he will come in. Swartz will come in and immediately steal the show or start or anything. But he could give you some minutes off the bench in some situations, and he'll certainly be a piece that the Jays try to retain moving forward, because he has 3 seasons of eligibility left, and I'm sure they'd like to keep him here for all of them.
Are they done? I mean, do you have any insight, or maybe just are they going to add anything else? And if so, what position or what piece do you think they might be looking to add to this already incredible portal class?
No, I don't think they're done. At the middle of last week, I was told that they were still very active in the portal. They're still talking to a couple of kids, zooming with them. And so I think they have 2 spots left. I think they go get kind of a bigger wing, like a 6'7", 6'8" kid who could be a versatile wing. And then I think they hold the last spot open for a while, simply because you never know what could happen in July, in August. And that's what Greg McDermott and his staff did last year. They held that final spot open just in case something happened, and then they got Fedor Zugic in August.
Great point.
So I think they go get one more. They're still active in the portal. They're going to go get one more wing, I think, instead of a backup big. So maybe that means Alexa Dimitrovic. Is ready. I think the more likely option, guys, is that Isaac Trout plays a little bit of small ball 5, like we saw him do 2 seasons ago. But yeah, that's what I think happens. 2 spots left. They're still active in the portal. Go get a wing and save the spot just in case.
Hey, great stuff, John. As always, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, guys.
That's John Walker from the World Herald. There's hope for you.
I mean, it's a damn good transfer portal haul that
No, there's hope for you.
How is there hope for me?
He met his girlfriend of 5 years by sliding into the DM.
You told me to do the opposite.
I know, but
that's why it's a great day to be alive.
Yes.
Why are we back to?
Because you want people to be dead.
No, I don't. I did not say that. I did not say that I want people to be dead. I was referring back to a funny joke that Jimmy said a couple weeks ago.
But you never know if Jimmy's
I've never made jokes.
comes to death.
Look, listen to me right now.
Don't know.
I'm not casting over. My Instagram pictures aren't good enough for me to be sliding into people's DMs and them to look at my.
You do not send the thirst traps that the kids send?
What thirst traps am I going to have?
I don't know. I don't follow you.
I don't have a 6-pack.
You follow the Nico Harrison philosophy that defense wins championships, so you stay back instead of moving forward.
Isn't that what the actor who was Rudy said? That if you're in like a room and everybody's talking to a cute girl, she's attracted to the one that doesn't talk to him. Do you guys remember that?
No, I just remember that the real Rudy, people don't like.
Yeah.
Like he started doing all the media.
Offsides.
Yeah, well, that didn't
offsides.
very, very much is like, that was very blown up for Hollywood. But regardless of that, no, I'm not sliding into people's DMs. I don't do that. I do what you told me.
Sean Astin, who played Rudy, kissed a girl in the Goonies.
And I go, hey, how you doing? Matt McMaster.
Uh-oh.
All right. On that note, time for you to go into the portal. All right. A little bit later, Brandon Vogel will join us. You are.
What? I've been in the portal, man.
Really?
My whole life I've been in the portal.
You just got here.
God, I'm going to have another co-host?
No, I meant
the
dating.
Jokes write themselves.
I meant about dating. Not about
now
radio.
I'm sad. All right. B Vogue's coming up here in a little bit. We'll ask him about, we're going to spend some money when B Vogues joins us. When we come back, another thing that John Butler spoke of yesterday, and we will refresh ESPN is confused about a guy from Nebraska that's in the portal. We're going to try and help out ESPN
Fair
with
enough.
Nebraska's portal entry this morning. That's coming up next on Gary and Matt, 1620 The Zone. Hey, on your betting apps that you have littered throughout your phone,
What about
did you do anything with the Jackie Robinson special yesterday?
I did not.
There was a 42% extra payout on a 4+ leg MLB. I believe that was on FanDuel. But Bet Rivers went one step further. They had a promo bonus surrounding Jackie Robinson's 42. So probably Jackie, that's kind of what he wanted, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, come on.
I looked yesterday
Rickey
to see
was
if
playing
Castellanos
chess.
hit a homer. Unfortunately, he
He did
did
not.
it. He did it. Now I got really excited because I was looking down on the Philadelphia Phillies, like on the box score, and I was looking for the home runs, and I saw one early in the line. I'm like, oh, and then I look, I go, oh, not Castellanos, and then I saw another one. I
That
go,
other
ooh,
guy.
and then I looked over. I go, Not Castellanos. It was the guy ahead of him who hit a homer. It's a damn shame.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome if he hit a homer. Oh, Lord.
What has happened? I would have gone to Twitter right
This
away.
is awful.
Uh-oh. You
Why,
scare
that
me.
ESPN reported that Hardley Smith IV is in the portal.
No, Ty Robinson got his final big board grade from Jordan Reed on ESPN. And it's not good.
He scared me as if something happened.
It's 171 in the 5th round.
Brugler has him as the 77th overall pick in the 3rd round.
Yates and Kuiper had him at 89 to Houston yesterday.
So that
3rd round.
back into the 3rd round.
Back into the 3rd round. Be a good fit at Houston.
Take it. I'm looking more because the teams can change.
Oh, yeah.
It could be trades and stuff. I'm looking at the 3rd round. The 3rd round would be a good spot.
It'd be a very good spot.
You'd
love for him to be in the 2nd round, though. That'd be great.
Well, you'd love for Nebraska to have 1st round guys, but
Yes,
you know
you
what?
would.
Sometimes you can't have anything, young Matt. Sometimes people die, and they get head lice.
We've learned.
See, I'm not.
Or they die with head
That
lice.
is you. That is you bringing that up.
Gets
That's
in the
not a me
casket.
thing. You brought that up that time.
Crawling all over the
No,
funeral
you were the
home.
first one to bring up head lice today for some
No,
undisclosed
he brought
reason.
up head lice. He brought up head lice because it's Child Day at Warner Park, and that there might be lice out there. And then I said that lice was a fraud.
Child Day. The first
We're like,
first 200
hey,
people get a child.
No, there is no head lice going around.
He
Okay?
brought it up.
You called it a
He
fraud.
brought it up. It is a fraud.
We did have Marty on earlier. He did not say any such thing, so I believe Marty. All is well.
All right, this
things
would
are
be
good.
the way. Like if we had a head lice outbreak, which is very disgusting, you'd want to tackle it, right?
Yes, you want to be very physical with it.
I think when you talk about tackling too much, you tackle poorly.
Really? Is there like a study to that? Is there like
Have
statistics?
you not been around Nebraska football in your
that's a
young
good point.
life?
That's a
When
good
Nebraska has talked about tackling, and they have invested money in tackling techniques, usually they suck at tackling. Now, the Illinois game last year was a poor tackling night.
Yes.
And it did affect Nebraska, and there were some busts, and there were some bad angles, bad tackling. But for the most part, for 2 years, that has not been a discussion point. But
There
it
have
became-
been weird games,
but I
for
don't-
sure.
I think John Butler yesterday used tackling to further the point that Nebraska has had a very physical spring, and because they have tackled more. There's no thudding up. We're not in the day and age of a couple of spring games ago where if you blew on a guy, he was down. Okay, that was our form of tackling. And, not like last year, they had guys that were hit stickers that were just blowing people up. But I think talking about tackling and teaching tackling, and again, goes back to a point I made earlier. If you look at some of the things that they thought ailed them, i.e. the Illinois game, poor tackling, they don't have as many missed tackles in that game. They find a way for the defense to try and help out the offense and maybe win that football game.
I mean,
but I
there's
think
so many ways.
I think he used the tackling, which is important because I think you have to learn how to tackle and also learn how to be tackled.
Well, yeah.
But just to say, hey, we're having a physical spring, and it's going to be a mindset that if we're going to be physical, what's the part of being physical is you got to tackle, brother.
I don't know. There are some things that you're totally right. You're on par with coaches say, and they emphasize it in front of the media so they can kind of relay that, hey, this is some of the messages we're sending. But the tone that I got from him when talking about tackling, that he was very passionate about it, that he called it a lost art. And when he said it and in the combos that he had about it, it seemed like he truly believed that when he was talking about tackling, he was like, no, we are actually doing it. Like, this is an actual thing. I don't know if he was trying to.
But have you ever looked at Nebraska's defense
convey a
in 2
point.
years and gone, God, they just don't, I wonder, they don't tackle at all.
Well, another thing is, I don't think I've looked at Nebraska's defense the last 2 years and thought they were soft.
No.
Like, I don't think I've looked at them and said, oh, this isn't a physical team, which is why it was very curious to me yesterday that we didn't hear the hammering of the points of the third down defense and red zone defense, which are actual, were things that need to improve. We heard a lot of things that I already thought were good, which was the physicality and the tackling.
He did a little bit because he used run fits as an example.
Yeah.
Which, and Hartzog is going to play more against the run than the pass, which probably elates some people. But I think the run fits, if You don't have to be a smart football player and know the run fit and be in the right spot. But when there's something coming at you, when the train's coming down the tracks, you got to be able to knock it off the tracks.
But I think that when he talks about tackling, I don't think he's trying to get a point across. I think he's actually like, no.
Well, I think he's trying to add to the point of we're physical.
I think there's another aspect, though. You have to talk about physicality within college football at this point when you're a team trying to make the college football playoff is, okay, so you have less guys on your roster now, right? You're going from 130 to 105, right? You have less bodies, and you're hopefully playing more games, right? You're going to hopefully play 15, 16, maybe even 17 games in a season. I wonder, and it's good to be physical now in spring, right? Because we're so far away from the season, and anything that you get banged up, you can heal. But when we get into the year, I really do wonder if there are going to be teams who decide to dial back on how physical, like even more so than they would during the regular season.
Well, you don't like. I'll give you the Chiefs for example. The Chiefs their training camp is one of the most physical training camps of anybody in the NFL. They don't keep that going throughout the practice season.
Sure.
In the midweek. Yeah. But it's a mindset of that's how we're going to play, and that's what's expected of us. And we work you during camp with the physicality that we're going to tackle, we're going to hit, we're going to, if a guy gets injured, a guy gets injured.
But I wonder.
So when they get into the season, outside of maybe 1 or 2 days, it's not that they're not hitting and tackling going full speed.
But even Georgia, right, where they have the famous Bloody Tuesday, where they are running and moving. Like, I wonder, like, does a team like that, who knows that they're going to be playing a lot of games and they have less guys now, are they going to try and dial back on that physicality because they need as many bodies as you go down the line? And we've heard a lot of this team and Matt Rule talking about Georgia, and Matt Rule comparing how the team practices almost as hard as Georgia does. If maybe they do dial back a little bit, but on the contrary, on the front side, do they emphasize physicality even more now?
I don't think, like, you keep bringing up the playoff for Nebraska. I mean,
that's the mindset.
No, it can't be the mindset. I mean, as the season goes on, okay, we're going to take it easy at the beginning because, man, we got to make sure we're good at the end. No, you got to be good out of the gate. I think you adjust as the season goes along, regardless if you're at Georgia or at Nebraska. I think the physicality part is a whole mindset because it trickles down. Do we call plays that are considered physical plays?
Sure.
The offensive linemen, they go, yeah, we're going to be physical, so we're going to act physical. Okay, we're going to practice being physical, and then we're going to back it up. Okay, instead of on 3rd and 4, and we're going to throw a swing pass, or we're going to throw the ball, we're going to line it up. And we're going to say, you know what, we can get 4 yards on the ground.
I just wonder if that continues into the fall because I have no problem with it continuing.
I'm sure they will have
spring.
I'm sure they will have a physical fall camp. Wouldn't guys be disappointed if they came into the fall and they're like, la-di-da-di-da?
But wouldn't, once again, with the 105 and the hope of having an extended season, okay, and that being not the expectation, but the hope. I think if you enter in the fall and you are banged up.
But I think some of the part, they're not killing each other. When they talk tackling and physical, they are actually tackling. They're not saying, hey, let's blow some people up today. Let's go get them. They're tackling. Okay, there's a difference between letting guys go loose. I think guys understand we're not here to blow up our teammate.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're going to hit. Okay, we're going to hit when we're doing defensive lineman against offensive lineman drills in the pit.
I love that they're emphasizing the physicality, and I love that they're emphasizing the tackling, but I do think they need to have the balance in mind, in my opinion. I think they need to measure and understand, like, hey, there might be some positions or there might be some days or whatever or practices string back to back where maybe we don't be that physical because we don't want to put these guys in jeopardy of getting hurt. And I do think in certain areas of this team, depth is a problem. And so I'm just interested with the limited roster now, the extended season, how do they balance the physicality heading into the fall?
Mm-hmm.
But I like that, with the lead up and the time they have from now to the beginning of the year, that they're emphasizing this because you have to have those traits in order to play any team in any conference.
All right. Brandon Vogel from Counter Reed going to stop by next on 1620 The Zone. We welcome in our good friend, Brandon Vogel from counterread.com. Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
I need you to do some math here. I'm going to let you play general manager in the new day and age of college athletics where we're going to have revenue sharing. The NFL model, if it equates to college football, a franchise quarterback would make $3.1 million. That would be 20% of your pool moving forward if all the numbers add up. What would a college quarterback have to do to deserve 20% of your revenue share pool?
Well, more guys will get that than probably deserve it, based on the way the market has been. Although I guess it will change, maybe in the revenue sharing model. I mean, I think you're talking about an all conference guy at least. The win's got to be there. You know, the Nico Iamaleava situation was interesting on a lot of fronts, but it was interesting in this, like, his underlying numbers were fine, but not great. But Tennessee won a bunch of games. So,
Yeah.
you know, how do you value that piece of it as well? So I think ultimately the wins have got to be there. And if the wins are there, you're probably going to be in that all conference sort of discussion. So that would be a QB worth probably 20% to me.
Brandon, how do you think we'll look at players who enter the winter transfer portal and players who enter the spring transfer portal differently?
Nebraska players specifically?
No, just general players, just any player. Do you think we'll look at players who enter the spring portal any differently than those who enter the winter portal in terms of just optics?
I think so. You know, this portal window that opened today got a little wonky with I think there's a lot of incentive, and I think values are going to be inflated. I think they're always a little bit inflated in the spring because teams are more desperate at that point if they're really trying to be active in this portal window. So for the guys in the winter, I think they probably get a little bit more grace from their respective fan bases. You know, people don't want to see players leave, but it's kind of like, well, you know, everybody's got to do what's best for them in terms of an opportunity. With the spring, I think that sentiment reduces a little bit because it can seem a little bit more like greedy or just kind of going out there to see what the market is and see if you can, whether you go someplace else or not, or just renegotiate whatever you have in your current school. It seems more transactional in the spring. That's the short way to say it.
I think if we did a offensive depth chart right now, our hit rate would be pretty good. What do you think your hit rate would be on a defensive depth chart that you do on the 16th of April and we hold on to it until the 28th of August?
Probably not that good. I mean, there's just such a big group of players, as Rule talked on Saturday, and Butler kind of confirmed with the DBs, you know, when they're looking at 11 guys there. And also with the portal opening today, like that's probably not going to be the case by the time we get to April 25th when it closes. So it would be pretty hard for the defense, at least for me. You know, might be easiest on the D line just because you don't have a ton of options, but that back seven, back eight, which Butler kind of highlighted as their strength right now, is difficult, which is pretty intriguing for it to be the strength, and for us, you know, not to have the best idea of exactly how it all pieces together.
When it comes to Nebraska this spring, we've talked a lot about the running backs and the depth they have. Getting a running back in the portal, in your opinion, is it a need or is it a luxury?
I thought it was a need, you know, going into spring, and then to hear the coaches talk about it, like it doesn't seem like it's really a need in their eyes. So I think I have to switch it to a luxury at this point. You know,
Okay.
would have been cool to be in the Jaden Knott sweepstakes, but didn't get there. So I think it would have to be a player, you know, maybe not Jaden Knott caliber, but at least proven, that Nebraska could get in the door with. Like if you have that, I think you at least take a look. But based on what the coaches have said, I think they're going to stand with the running back room that they have.
The running back room that includes Emmett Johnson, and it's almost like you know what you're going to get but can you get more from Emmett Johnson?
I think so. I mean, he's shown flashes in limited opportunities. I think the big kind of additional wrinkle, which we saw a little bit of during the Holgerson games, is what he can do out of the backfield as a receiver. And I think he mentioned it even this spring, like his kind of marching orders were to be a big play guy. And we saw that occasionally, but I think that's the other big piece too. That's been missing in Nebraska's run game both years under Rule. And I think Emmett is their best option to be that big play back. So in terms of can you get more, I think there's more out there for him. How you get those things, you can scheme the passing stuff, and that'll help. But just need to break some more runs, I think.
I feel like at this point we haven't talked as much about special teams because of who Nebraska has hired and Mike Eckler and just his history with that unit. How valuable do you think that is, that they just hired a coach and a discussion that we were having for months just kind of went away, that we don't really have that on the front of our mind anymore? How valuable is that?
Well, I think the value of Eckler is kind of what you're seeing. It's been a little bit of a non-topic, which is odd when you really stop and look at, like, the kicking hasn't been good 2 years in a row, place kicking. Punting, they brought in an experienced punter, but he was kind of middle of the Big Ten. Like, how good is that area going to be? But I think Eckler and his track record at Tennessee kind of has pushed some of those questions to the background a little bit, and maybe they'll still come up at some point this spring. But I mean, how valuable is he? Like, I wrote about this, like, before the start of spring football. Like, you're talking about maybe 10 or 15 special teams plays that could significantly change your season. If you're just a little bit better on returns, or you get 3 more punts down inside the 20, like, that's what it would take to get Nebraska from a special teams, like an efficiency standpoint, that's usually like -2 or 3 points to the overall total. Just getting back to 0 would have an impact, much less anything better than that, which is where Eckler was at all 4 years at Tennessee.
Maybe the most, and they haven't talked a lot about special teams because they're still trying to figure out guys that are going to take the lead, but they have worked on special teams. I thought one of the more interesting things that flew under the radar is that Tristan Alvano has had a good spring. They didn't know how much they'd get out of him. And then John Hull has got a quad strain. So Tristan Alvano all of a sudden is back in the conversation.
Yeah, that is interesting. And I mean, obviously a highly regarded guy, dealt with injury, and it just, as a true freshman, experienced some true freshman kicking in the Big Ten sort of things. So putting a pause on him last year with the injury, really, I think could end up being a good thing. And we'll see. Like, he was a guy you expected to be, Big Ten caliber punter, not just Big Ten caliber, but maybe one of the top half of the kickers in the league. So to hear that he's having a good spring and kind of taking advantage of this opportunity is good development. Like, it's not like a rough freshman season. We could kind of put that to the side and say, well, maybe it was just the freshman piece of it. So now that maybe this is an indication that we're back on track with him.
A little bit over a week of spring to go. Do you have a unit right now, a position group that you just feel absolutely great about, better than any of the others?
No, I don't think so. It's spring, so you hear good things about the O-line, which, just it seems like an upset given how many people they are missing there, and how young they have to be during these spring practices. So if that plays out that way during the season, then Nebraska has a great chance with a line like that. But in terms of the collection of talent, I still think they're pretty good at receiver. And yesterday was an interesting day from a press availability standpoint with Butler, Van Poppel, and Wright there's just kind of a quiet confidence. And when Butler was the pick for Nebraska at DC, like a lot of other people, you start dreaming about, okay, Nebraska's going to be out there. Like, who are they going to go get? And they just looked down the hall and promoted from within. I'm kind of coming around. Like the way that he speaks about defense, it's just very kind of calculated, and it's not flashy. And I think with this group of guys missing some of the star talent that they had from a year ago, it might be the right fit.
We keep talking about, I don't think they have stars, or at least nobody that has come to the forefront that you could designate as a star. I think their depth. I think the depth has made this spring one of those, they're still trying to figure everything out, where like at linebacker, they have enough guys that they do feel, I don't think it was lip service yesterday, that they could go 3 deep at linebacker. When was the last time we said that about Nebraska?
It's been a while, and you look the last, the 2 Tony White seasons, Nebraska got good linebacker play, but it was, a couple of guys making a ton of tackles. It would be nice to spread the workload a little bit.
The emphasis on physicality and tackling. This isn't a team that necessarily has been soft or terrible at tackling the last 2 years. What do you make of that?
It's kind of a Rule hallmark. I remember researching something about that Temple Notre Dame game when Temple almost knocked off Notre Dame, and Temple's AD was out there saying, now the AD at Penn State, saying this would be the most physical team Notre Dame plays all year. And, so that's kind of the mindset for I think a Rule football program. And realistically, like at a place like Nebraska, I think it's essential. It's one of the things you can control in a sport where you don't have a ton of control over, your recruiting base or your NIL dollars available, or transfers, players coming in and out. So it's one of those bedrock things that I think is as good a foundation to build a program on as anything.
Hey, fantastic stuff. Thank you. For people that are wondering, at the Vogel household in Tennessee, you do not pump in the fake bird noise. That is real.
It is real. I have my windows open. It's like the Masters every day here.
Oh, that's wonderful. What's coming up next on counterread.com?
Yeah, I'm going to dig into some of these defensive topics for tomorrow, and then Aaron Sorensen, my colleague there, will have our Friday 5 to kind of recapping the week, and then we'll be back into more spring football for the start of the week.
Hey, that'll be fantastic. As always, my friend, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
That's Brandon Vogel from counterread.com. You can check out all of his fine work Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the off season. All right, that'll do it for a Wednesday. Quite the show. A lot of things. Hope some of the things you wanted to come true don't come true today.
My head.
That'd be a winner for you.
Oh, I'm going to have a winner. Over 7.5. Braves versus Toronto tonight.
Okay.
The Braves have hit that total in their last 5 games. Like the matchup on the mound, we'll hit that 7.5 on the over.
That's a good living. I like that.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see if we are right or wrong tomorrow when we join you at 6. Thanks for putting up with us. Crossover is coming up next on 16.